Chapter 1262. Many experts had looks of curiosity on their faces. This Devil King wasn't someone ordinary Devil Kings could be compared to. Even at the same level, the disparity between them was extremely great. In addition, he was a good friend of the Devil Emperor and roamed the world together with him when he was young. This layer of relationship caused him to have a transcendent status. At this moment, who was the person he admired so much? The Devil Kings of the various major powers on the fallen Devil Island were all extremely curious. Old ancestor. From afar, a person called out. After that, a young man in black walked over, directly walking to the core position and sat behind Qin Wentian. He was even more outstanding compared to Ba Xiao. Xia Yuan, do your best. The old Xia Devil King calmly nodded. This person was none other than Xia Yuan, an extremely terrifying character on the Devil rankings. Xia Yuan was a terrifying character who had been stuck at the peak of Devil Foundation for hundreds of years. A few hundred years ago, he had already taken that step and peaked at the gate of the Devil King realm. His strength wasn't something those who had just peaked at the gate could compare to. Hence, this was the reason why he was able to walk to the core position. Xia Yuan, Old Chai, and Ba Xiao were the three most terrifying characters on the Devil rankings. Ba Xiao was also the weakest among the three. Xia Yuan and Old Chai were even more terrifying compared to Ba Xiao. However, the old Xia Devil King said that this person wasn't Xia Yuan. Xia Yuan was inferior to him. Who was this person the old Xia Devil King was talking about exactly? The experts continued to arrive. Even the powerful Devil Kings under the Devil Emperor were here. They all nodded to the old Xia Devil King. Old Xia, are you doing well? Lord Devil Emperor misses old Xia very much. At my level, what can be bad about me? The only thing that makes me feel bad is that I can't break through and can't stand shoulder to shoulder with your Lord Devil Emperor. The old Xia Devil King laughed. Everyone didn't feel surprised. On the fallen Devil Island, only he could speak in such a manner, using the Devil Emperor as a comparison. Who asked them to be friends when they roamed the world together when they were young? There was no way for them to compare. Even the most loyal subordinates of the fallen Devil Emperor wouldn't dare to compete with him. It was said that the relationship between the fallen Devil Emperor and old Xia was extremely close. If not, the two of them wouldn't be so close right now. Elder Xia is right. With Elder Xia's mental state and bearing, he will break through that layer of shackles sooner or later. The various demon kings laughed. I shall depend on your auspicious words then. The old Xia Devil King stroked his beard and smiled. Xia Yuan, you're early. At this moment, another voice rang out. Everyone turned their heads and saw an old man walking over. Although this person looked very old, his gait was as vigorous as a dragon and as vigorous as a tiger. Old Chai is here. A Devil King laughed. This old Chai was an extremely famous character on the Devil rankings and was recognized as one of the two strongest. Also, he had been on the Devil rankings for far too long. So long that even though the Devil rankings changed again and again, he was still on it. Evidently, Old Chai was very old and had been stuck at this realm for a very, very long time. He could already be considered to have cultivated to the pinnacle of Devil Foundation, but he still had no way to break through to the final layer. There were people who said that his talent was still a notch lower. Being able to reach this step today was already due to his hard work and luck. There were also people who said that Old Chai just didn't have enough good fortune. If he didn't have talent, he wouldn't have been able to reach this step. Young fellows are always full of energy. I'm already too old and can't hold on much longer. Old Chai walked to the side of Xia Yuan and sat down. He patted Xia Yuan on his shoulder like they were old friends. However, Xia Yuan merely snorted coldly, "Don't worry, I will be extremely careful when dealing with you. In case I don't even know how I died in your hands in the future." Young people always speak bluntly. I'm already so old, there's no point in me fighting and killing. Today, I came here only to offer my congratulations to the fallen Devil Emperor. Speaking of which, this old man of mine has already offered my congratulations to the fallen devil emperor several times, but sadly, I'm still stuck at this level. Old Chai shook his head as his gaze turned to Qin Wentian. Little fellow, who are you? Why haven't I seen you before? Old Chai asked. My name is Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian turned his head and smiled. There will always be geniuses in every generation. The world is still yours. Old Chai sighed, like he was admitting to his old age. However, Qin Wentian merely smiled. How could there be any simple devil cultivators at this level? The devil kings in the surroundings were chatting idly. Qin Wentian quietly listened and discovered that many devil kings from the myriad devil islands seemed to be very confident in their subordinates. As time flowed by, Qin Wentian already saw over 10 familiar faces. However, the majority of them were people from the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's side. This was determined by the number of people from the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's side. Qin Wentian also didn't interact with these people. In such a situation, it was better for him to keep a low profile. It was fine as long as both sides knew each other's intentions. As for those from the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's side, they naturally coldly stared at each other. Another person came to the region where Qin Wentian was and sat beside Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian glanced at him and nodded his head lightly. That person also nodded his head lightly, causing many to have looks of bewilderment on their faces. What did these two mean by this? Did they know each other or not? At this moment, in the region where Chi-Do was, several figures stood up at the same time. Their gazes turned to a figure not far away, walking over here. The moment he stood there, he instantly became the focal point of everyone. Many devil kings stared at this person, all of them were attracted by his aura. Although this person was only at the peak of devil foundation, his spirit and aura seemed to be completely natural. Every step he took seemed to contain a mysterious rhythm to it. This person wasn't simple. Ha, he's here. The old Xia devil king laughed, causing the eyes of all the devil kings to flash. Was this person the one the old Xia devil king spoke of? He said that even Xia Yuan was inferior to this person. Given the judgment of the old Xia devil king, there was no way he would make a mistake. In that case, this person must surely be extremely outstanding. Who is he? Why does old Xia praise him so much? A powerful devil king under the devil emperor asked. I've only known him for a short period of time, but you all will soon know why I admire him so much. He will surely become the most dazzling character in the future. At that time, I hope that your Lord Devil Emperor would accept him as a disciple. His future accomplishments would surely be extraordinary. The old Xia Devil King laughed, staring at the young man, feeling extremely satisfied. Old Xia. The young man walked over, nodding his head to old Xia. Take a seat, I'm waiting for your performance. The old Xia Devil King smiled. The young man glanced at the people in the surroundings. After that, he walked to the side of Qin Wentian and sat down. He didn't look at Qin Wentian and just quietly sat there. Xia Yuan glanced at the young man before him as a complicated look flashed in his eyes. The old ancestor regarded this young man even more highly than him, causing him to feel a grudge. However, he had fought against this young man before, and Xia Yuan understood why the old ancestor would regard this young man so highly. This young man was truly a terrifying monster. The young man sat down. Those experts who stood up earlier all sat down as well. Many gazes landed on the young man, including the spectators on the battlefield. They were all paying attention to those people in the core region. I knew you would come for sure. At this moment, the young man who had been incomparably calm from the start spoke, causing the people around him as well as the Devil King to turn to him. Who was he talking to? So. Qin Wentian replied. As the sound of his voice faded, the eyes of the Devil Kings all gleamed with sharpness. These two dazzling characters actually knew each other. So, I came to the Fallen Devil Island earlier than you and was waiting for you here. The young man continued. Qin Wentian smiled. Now, you have finally arrived. Let's hope you won't disappoint me. The young man calmly spoke. Back then when you were in there, I naturally won't disappoint you this time around. Qin Wendian calmly spoke. The person sitting beside him was none other than Huang Shatian. He had arrived and from Huang Shaishan's words, he came to the fallen devil island earlier than Qin Wendian. He was even acquainted with the old Xia Devil King, causing the old Xia Devil King to regard him highly. On the fallen devil island, the old Xia Devil King was the person closest to the Devil Emperor realm. One could say that Huang Shaishan's first step was even further than him. Huang Shatian was truly a terrifying opponent. Interesting. The old Xia Devil King laughed. He didn't expect that there would be someone Huang Shatian was waiting for here. In addition, this person was already seated here before Huang Shatian. Seems like this birthday banquet is getting more and more interesting. From afar, the Blackstone Devil King furrowed his brows, feeling somewhat worried. The person whom the old Xia Devil King regarded highly seemed to have a grudge with Qin Wendian. He knew that Qin Wendian came from the immortal realms and was searching for someone. This person was most definitely an enemy of Qin Wendian in the immortal realms. Also, there was no need to doubt the strength of this person since he was able to gain the admiration of the old Xia Devil King. The vast battlefield was filled with banquets as the crowd gathered. At a location slightly further away, a beautiful silhouette appeared. It was actually Xinu of the Celestial Devil Lodge. Only to see Xinu's beautiful eyes constantly scanning the crowd. However, even after a long time, she still couldn't find the person she was looking for. Inadvertently, she glanced at those esteemed seats in the center and in the next instant, her beautiful eyes froze there as she felt her heart pounding. She saw the person she was looking for. He was sitting in the most central area, together with the Devil Kings, so dazzling. Even for Ba Xiao, he wasn't qualified to sit there. Ha ha ha, it's so lively again this year. Old friend, you are here again. A voice rang out. After that, the crowd only saw a silhouette directly materializing as he walked to the front of the Emperor's throne. At this instant, on the battlefield, countless figures stood up and bowed, "We pay our respects to the Devil Emperor." I came, but how can I compare to you? The old Xia Devil King also stood up. Although this was an old friend, this old friend of his was the Devil Emperor. He still had to show some respect. Old friend, you are doing this too. The Devil Emperor laughed, pressing old Xia Devil King back to his seat. After that, he also sat on the Devil Throne and stared at the crowd with imposingness in his eyes. Everyone, please be seated. The fallen Devil Emperor waved his hand. Thank you, Devil Emperor. The crowd bowed and sat down. Countless gazes landed on the Devil Emperor, wanting to see clearly what sort of existence the master of this boundlessly vast fallen devil region was. Chapter 1263. Qin Wendian also turned his gaze to the fallen Devil Emperor. The imposing Devil Emperor didn't exude any aura, he merely smiled as he sat on the Devil Throne, exuding a domineering aura, as though he was the ruler of the world. Today is a rare 100 years. Many of you came from afar to offer your congratulations. I've prepared a banquet for everyone to enjoy, there's no need to feel restrained. The fallen Devil Emperor lifted his wine cup in the air. After that, countless figures lifted their wine cups and toasted the Devil Emperor, draining the contents in a single gulp. Alright, there's no need to be polite anymore. Let the banquet begin. The fallen Devil Emperor waved his hand. After that, the experts all called out, "Many thanks to your majesty." With that, the banquet began, and it was a bustling scene. Old friend, I'm in a good mood today. How about we enjoy a dance? The fallen Devil Emperor spoke to the old Xia Devil King beside him. It's rare for you to be in such a mood. I naturally have no objections. It's just that my old body might not be able to withstand Mog's dance. The old Xia Devil King laughed. Mog's dance is truly unparalleled under the heavens, able to topple entire cities with a single dance. The fallen Devil Emperor smiled and nodded. Beside him, a Devil King under his command called out, "Let's invite Mog, As the sound of his voice faded, not far away from the Devil Emperor, a layer of mist suddenly appeared in the air, drifting downwards unceasingly, like an illusion. Finally, the mist landed in the air not far away from the Devil Emperor. Celestial Devil Lodge. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he inclined his head and stared at the air. Amidst the crowd at the banquet, numerous silhouettes suddenly appeared. All of them were clad in white, and their movements were graceful and graceful. With every step they took, they would attract the gazes of countless people as they moved together with them. Xinu. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Among these 9 maidens, one of them was none other than Xinu, who accompanied him back then. She soared through the air, her speed was neither fast nor slow, as though there was a mysterious rhythm to her movements, yet exuded a sense of breathtaking beauty. This time around, Qin Wentian discovered that the beauties of these 9 women were all top-notch. They were even more beautiful compared to the dancers he saw in the Celestial Devil Lodge back then. Evidently, for the sake of celebrating the birthday of the Devil Emperor, the Celestial Devil Lodge invited the strongest dancers. What a beautiful lass. Even at my age, I can feel her charm. How can the younger generation endure it? No wonder the Celestial Devil Lodge is so powerful, causing countless heroes and geniuses to be mesmerized by it. Old Xia spoke. 9 silhouettes landed in the mist, dancing gracefully. Their white dresses fluttered in the wind, their waists were slender and graceful. Each and every one of their movements was filled with boundless charm. In an instant, the crowd only felt that those 9 women were right in front of their eyes, occupying their minds. Many people involuntarily put down their wine cups and stared at them in a daze. The dance of the Celestial Devil Lodge wasn't something everyone would be able to enjoy normally. Even for geniuses, only those rankers on the Devil King rankings and Devil King rankings had the qualifications to enjoy it. Now, they could feast their eyes. These demonesses are so powerful. Yen Yurua sat among the crowd. Even as a female, she could feel the charm of these women, let alone the men. She turned her gaze in the direction of Qin Wentian only to see Qin Wentian inclined his head, staring at the dancers. She was so angered that her face puffed up as she cursed in a low voice, "Demoness, Demoness, this bastard has been missing for a long time. Could he have gone to look for these demonesses?" One couldn't help but say that these demonesses were truly powerful. Qin Wentian really went to look for them. Yen Yusin's gaze turned to her husband, Azure Flame Tuo. Only to see that Azure Flame Tuo's eyes were misty, as though he was already deeply mesmerized. It was as though he wanted nothing more than to rush over there. Yen Yusin's expression instantly turned extremely unsightly. Not only for Azure Flame Tuo, countless geniuses here soon fell into the dance as well. The Mercury Lady Devil art was able to cause them to be immersed in it, unable to extricate themselves from it. At this moment, the sound of a zither rang out, akin to the spring breeze brushing past the water surface. It was comfortable and soft, stirring the hearts of everyone. In the air, a beautiful celestial maiden descended from the sky. She played the zither and smiled in the direction of the Devil Emperor. This smile caused countless people to fall into a daze. Even the gazes of Devil Kings were mesmerized. How powerful! Qin Wentian only felt his mind going out of control, as though he was completely immersed in it. In his entire world, there was only that maiden as well as that beautiful dance. The melody of the zither and the dance perfectly fused together. When that maiden placed her zither down and stood in the center of the 9 people, it was as though she was the only one left in this world. The master of the Celestial Devil Lodge, MOG. Who? Beads of sweat appeared on Qin Wentian's forehead. After that, he relaxed and no longer resisted. He was completely immersed in the dance, admiring the beauty of it. He knew that he wouldn't be able to resist the Mercury Lady Devil art. Good dance, shocking the world with a single dance. As expected of MOG. Old Xia Devil King sighed in admiration. Even many Devil Kings had already fallen into her hands. As the sound of his voice faded, the mist gradually dissipated as the dance came to a halt. Mog walked to the front and bowed to the fallen devil emperor. Mog congratulates your majesty on your birthday. Ha, Mog, come sit beside me and drink a cup or two. The fallen devil emperor smiled. Yes, your majesty. Mog nodded lightly. Her silhouette floated over and landed beside the devil emperor. She twisted her body and softly leaned against the devil emperor, exuding boundless charm. Many people had looks of envy in their eyes when they stared at the devil emperor, wanting nothing more than to transform into the devil emperor and embrace this beauty in his arms. However, they merely thought about it. Who asked this person to be the devil emperor? Only the devil emperor would be able to make Mog willingly serve him. How could they be qualified? You guys can take a seat. The devil emperor spoke to the other 9 maidens. Many thanks, your majesty. The 9 maidens nodded lightly. Their silhouettes flickered as they moved towards Qin Wintian's direction. Xianyu walked over to him and smiled. Sir Qin, can I sit beside you? Miss Xianyu, feel free to do so. Qin Wintian smiled and nodded. In this area, each of them had their own tables. The seats were very spacious and there was no problem for 2 people to sit together. Xianyu sat beside Qin Wintian, pouring wine for Qin Wintian. I didn't expect Miss Xianyu's dance to be so beautiful. Qin Wintian smiled as he received it. I initially wanted to dance for Sir Qin to see, but it seems like Sir Qin has already forgotten about Xianyu and has never visited me again. Xianyu seemed to feel a little wronged, lightly leaning on Qin Wintian's arm. Her voice was soft and gentle, like they were a pair of lovers. Behind them, Yi Zimo laughed. Brother Qin is truly awesome. And not far away from them, Ba Zhao's expression was extremely heavy. Demoness, demoness, demoness. The 3rd princess Yan Yurua stomped her feet in anger when she saw this scene. To think that her guess was right, this bastard actually went to seduce other women. No wonder he was nowhere to be seen. The Blackstone Devil King was astonished when he saw this scene. After that, he bitterly smiled and shook his head. For someone like Qin Wintian to come to the fallen devil sect, it was impossible for him to be buried. The radiance on him would only grow brighter and brighter. You are truly so carefree. Huang Shatian drank a cup of wine as he calmly spoke. Qin Wintian didn't reply, he was contemplating in his heart. Back then in the Sacred Academy, Huang Shatian already had a glimpse of the gate to the Immortal King realm. His combat prowess was unparalleled. After that, after the last Tao lecture, his strength underwent a qualitative transformation. Most probably, Huang Shatian had also walked even further. After returning to the 9 Emperors' immortal state, Huang Shatian would definitely have consolidated his strength. Right now, even the old Xia Devil King who had a very good relationship with the Devil Emperor regarded Huang Shatian highly. Most probably, Huang Shatian has already reached a terrifying level. This was a formidable opponent. Qin Wintian would definitely not underestimate him. During these 100 years, I wonder what other geniuses appeared on my fallen Devil Island. Also, have there been any outstanding characters on the various Devil Islands? The Devil Emperor glanced behind him as he spoke. An extremely powerful character appeared on my Devil Island. Sir Devil Emperor, there's also an extremely outstanding character on my Devil Island. Reporting to your majesty, the young man sitting there, receiving the favor of the beauties from the Celestial Devil Lodge, is someone from my Devil Island. The Blackstone Devil King pointed to Qin Wintian as he spoke. Oh, being able to sit in that position, not bad. The Devil Emperor smiled as he glanced at Qin Wintian. After that, he turned to Mog beside him and asked, have you seen this young man before? He should have been to the Celestial Devil Lodge before, I didn't pay much attention to him. However, this last Xianyu is extremely outstanding. Ba Xiao on the devil rankings pestered her daily but she didn't even bother to look him in the eye. This time around, she took the initiative to come here because of this young man. Also, being able to sit in that position, there must be something extraordinary about him. Mog smiled. Seems like things are going to be interesting this time around. The Devil Emperor laughed as he stared at the old Xia Devil King. Mog seems to have a very high evaluation of this little fellow. But I heard that you also have a very high evaluation of the young man beside him. No matter who he is, no matter how outstanding he is, it's destined that no one will be able to snatch away his limelight. You will naturally understand after you see him. This time around, you will definitely leave the position of the top ranker to him. The old Xia Devil King laughed. So confident? In that case, I will have to take a good look. The Devil Emperor laughed. To him, this birthday banquet was merely a 100-year tradition. He wanted the Devil Kings of the myriad of Devil Islands to pay their respects, and at the same time, he wanted to see how strong the younger generations of the Devil region were. Sitting in the position of the Devil Emperor, in truth, there was nothing in the fallen Devil region that was worthy of his attention. Go and activate the battle formation. The Devil Emperor instructed a Devil King beside him. That Devil King nodded and left his location. The eyes of the old Xia Devil King turned to the vast battle platform in the center. Not too long after, the battle platform underwent a transformation. Boundless light enveloped the entire platform as the scenery within changed. Everyone could feel a surge of supremely powerful spatial attributed energy. They all knew that although this battle platform was incomparably vast, it was still impossible for it to contain all the devils here. They could only rely on the battle formation to transform the platform into an even vaster spatial dimension, transforming it into a world of its own. Chapter 1264. A Devil King beside the Devil Emperor stood up. He stared at the experts here and spoke in a clear voice. The myriad Devil Islands value martial prowess, our fallen Devil region is no exception. Everyone here might have come from various places in the fallen Devil region to pay your respects to the Devil Emperor. Now, the Devil Emperor will also give you all a chance to display yourselves. Everyone turned solemn when they heard this. They understood that this was indeed an opportunity for them. For Devil cultivators, their slaughter was even more brutal compared to those in the immortal realms. For those who climbed up from the bottom, they had to experience countless calamities before they could climb to the top, not being enslaved by others. The chance to meet the Devil Emperor was something that only happens once every 100 years. Also, they had to be able to catch up and display their prowess here. Even if they weren't valued highly by the Devil Emperor, as long as their performance was dazzling enough, they would have a chance to be valued by many of the major devil sects here. After this banquet ends, they would have a chance to join those peak-level devil sections. Such an opportunity could truly only be encountered once every 100 years. The Devil King beside the Devil Emperor pointed to the battlefield and spoke, that place is a devil formation. Inside is a spatial dimension, boundlessly vast. From the outside, one can clearly see everything happening inside. But for you guys who are inside, your devil sense will be restricted. You can only use your eyes to see and do your best to fighting until the very end. Only then would the Devil Emperor and the other Devil Kings notice your existence. The further you go, the more conspicuous you will be. As to why we want to restrict your devil sense, it's because many of you are acquainted with each other. This is to prevent some people from joining forces to cause unfairness. However, fairness is relative. You guys must understand that in a place like the myriad Devil Islands, if you want to survive, if you want to grow stronger, no one will give you a fair environment. You can only struggle in blood before you can advance. Hence, once you are inside, you can do whatever you can to obtain victory. That Devil King spoke in a loud voice. However, the Devil Emperor and Devil Kings can tell that you guys are relying on yourself or external forces. If you know that you have no chance of victory and have the danger of dying, just head to the highest level of the spatial dimension. As long as you touch the light screen, you will be sent out by the spatial energy. However, many times during the battle, you won't be able to make it in time. If you die in there, don't blame anyone. You can choose whether you want to enter or not. At the end of this battle, Lord Demon Emperor will choose the top 10 geniuses and bestow treasures to 7 of them. As for the other 3, they can make a request to Lord Demon Emperor. This is a gift from Lord Demon Emperor. Work hard. After you've thought it through, you can enter. The Devil King waved his sleeves, and the crowd saw that on the floating battle platform, there were many spatial doors flickering with a dazzling brilliance. They could already step into them. Many figures stood up, and in an instant, the vast banquet hall shook, giving everyone a strong visual impact. The Devil Emperor and the various Devil Kings watched this scene with smiles on their faces. They watched as the figures walked through the doors of the battle platforms, stepping into the floating sky battle platforms. They were assigned to different places. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. He looked at the figures walking in and found that even if they entered from the same entrance, they would still be sent to different places in the inner battlefield. There were no rules to the teleportation, so he could not find the other inside, but he could see them clearly from the outside. Qin Wentian understood in his heart. By doing this, it was indeed fair. If not, the members of some of the major clans would definitely gather together at the first instant. Are we still not moving out? Huang Shatian calmly spoke. Qin Wentian smiled and stood up. Sir Qin. Xinu who was beside him called out. Qin Wentian glanced at her only to hear Xinu speaking in a light voice. Xinu will wait outside for Sir Qin's safe return. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded to Xinu. With a step, he soared into the air. Qida and the others followed after him, moving towards the battlefield, entering the battle platforms together with the crowd. Xinu, just you wait. At this moment, Ba Xiao walked above Xinu as he spoke in a cold tone. After that, his silhouette flashed as he also flew inside. The battle platform was like a terrifying whirlpool, unceasingly devouring the geniuses. Azure Flame Tua also entered. Yan Yusen was a little nervous. Although everyone seemed very confident earlier, when she saw how many geniuses there were here, how could she not be nervous? She initially wanted to broaden Yan Yurua's horizons by coming to the Devil Emperor's birthday celebration. But in the end, her own horizons were broadened. She knew that her husband, whom she worshipped, couldn't be considered anything here. There were many people more outstanding than her husband. That bastard. The third princess Yan Yurua's silhouette flashed as she also flew towards the battle platform. She had always wanted to go to Qin Wentian's side but she wasn't qualified. In that case, she could only go to the battlefield to look for him. Yurua, what are you doing? Yan Yusen berated when she saw this scene. There's no need for you to interfere in my matters. Yan Yurua spoke. Yan Yusen's silhouette flashed with extreme speed, blocking Yan Yurua's path as she spoke. Are you courting death? This place is the Fallen Devil Island, not the Blackstone Devil Island. There are many powerful devil cultivators here and they wouldn't show mercy. The Myriad Devil War isn't just a few battles, you would already be killed before you could find your lover. The beautiful eyes of the third princess glanced over. She also knew that Yan Yusen's words weren't without reason but she still felt some reluctance. Look below, there are so many geniuses here but none of them have any intention to enter. What's the point of you entering? Yan Yusen pulled her along. Follow me back. This time around, Yan Yurua didn't resist and followed Yan Yusen back. Although the two of them didn't see eye to eye, they were still sisters after all. Yan Yusen wouldn't allow her to send herself to death. Is there anyone else who wants to enter? If not, the battle platform will be closed and no one is allowed to enter. A Devil King in the air spoke. There were some people who were still hesitating. Their silhouettes flashed as they also rushed in. Okay, from now onwards, no one is allowed to enter the battle platform. That Devil King then retreated, not obstructing the vision of the spectators. Countless experts inclined their heads and stared at the battlefield. Although the battlefield inside was extremely vast, from the outside, it seemed like countless devil cultivators were gathered here. It was truly a scene of chaos and chaos. It was easier said than done if one wanted to stand out. If one was the slightest bit careless, they might even die. MOG, who do you think will win? The Devil Emperor smiled at MOG who was leaning on him. Those who sat in the front seats earlier are naturally the most outstanding batch of geniuses. As for the last 10 geniuses you thought highly of, they should be among them as well. Mog laughed. Old Xia, next, I truly want to see how strong the young man you admired is exactly. The Devil Emperor laughed. Just watch, you will be pleasantly surprised. The eyes of the old Xia Devil King gleamed with a dazzling light. I will wait then. The fallen Devil Emperor laughed. His eyes directly locked onto Huang Shatian, who was in the Sumera dimension. After Huang Shatian entered the battlefield, a terrifying law might gushed forth from him, enveloping him in all directions. His entire person shone with a dark devilish light. Evidently, Huang Shatian had also cultivated a technique similar to the immortal devil transformation art, transforming his immortal energy into tyrannical devil energy. Behind Huang Shatian, a terrifying screen of darkness appeared. Within the screen of darkness, numerous terrifying devil weapons could be seen. There were incomparably sharp devil swords, tyrannical spears of darkness. The screen of darkness behind him seemed to be an independent dimension, and from within, countless devil weapons could be seen. Not bad, such spatial energy has already reached the peak of perfection. He has already walked very far into the immortal king realm. Next, let's see how strong he is. The eyes of the fallen Devil Emperor flashed. The Devil Kings in the surroundings also nodded silently, following the gaze of the Devil Emperor to focus on Huang Shatian. Huang Shatian moved. He appeared in a stretch of yellow sand and directly soared through the air. Very swiftly, the silhouette of an expert appeared before him. Although his immortal sense was obstructed, there were simply too many people in this dimension. If he continued forward, he would still be able to easily bump into others. That person could feel the pressure from Huang Shatian as a hint of wariness appeared in his heart. He could faintly sense that Huang Shatian was extremely dangerous. Boom! The spatial screen of light behind Huang Shatian erupted with intense light, engulfing everything. After that person only felt a blinding light shooting towards him. His countenance drastically changed as his aura frenziedly erupted forth. However, it was already too late. The devil swords, devil sabers, and spears in the spatial light screen instantly traversed the void, like tens of thousands of soldiers attacking at the same time, tyrannical to the extreme. In just an instant, a thunderous boom shook the entire space, and the body of the cultivator directly disappeared in the light, obliterated. That person didn't even have a chance to resist. He didn't even have the time to take out his devil weapon. How powerful! The eyes of the Devil Kings flashed. As expected of someone the old Xia Devil King held in high regard. A single strike from him was truly tyrannical to the extreme. Look at him, he is already the #1 ranker. How about it? The old Xia Devil King laughed. Let's observe a little more. This little bit isn't enough. Look at Xia Yuan and old Chai, they aren't weak as well. The Devil Emperor laughed. Although this was the case, since his old friend spoke, he would still give some face. As long as Huang Shatian was truly strong enough, he wouldn't mind giving him the #1 ranker as long as he said it. Among the Devil Kings, the Blackstone Devil King furrowed his brows. This Huang Shatian was truly very powerful and was even recommended by the old Xia Devil King. However, this person seemed to have a grudge with Qin Wentian. If this was the case, things wouldn't be good for Qin Wentian. His gaze turned to the location where Qin Wentian was at. At this moment, Qin Wentian was in a forest. He had also encountered his first opponent. 7th level. That person sensed the aura radiating from Qin Wentian as a mocking smile flashed in his eyes. Do you think this battlefield is a game? Even if your talent is strong enough to allow you to sit in the core region, this place isn't just a place for talent. It's a place for combat. Qin Wentian frowned when he heard the words of his opponent. It was a fact that his cultivation base was on the lower side. If everyone who met him sensed his aura, they would definitely come looking for trouble with him. If that was the case, things would be extremely troublesome. Chapter 1265. Although Qin Wendian wasn't afraid of continuous challenges, this battlefield was known as a place where all the peak-level Devil Foundation experts of the Fallen Devil region were present. There was no doubt that he would encounter many of them on his way here. If he had to fight every single one of them, the burden on him would be extremely great. If that was the case, how would he be able to be in his best condition when fighting against Huang Shatian? You are not my opponent. Just step aside. Qin Wendian calmly spoke. The people here would be eliminated sooner or later. Even if he didn't fight, the others would. If he could force them to retreat without a fight, that would undoubtedly be the best choice. However, it was clearly impossible to force a devil cultivator to retreat with just a single sentence from him. A cold smile appeared on the lips of that devil cultivator. His hands glowed with a blood-colored light, transforming into terrifying blood-colored devil hands that exuded a bloody and dangerous aura. Qin Wendian shook his head. With an intention of his will, a sword appeared in his hands. The sword hummed as demonic chi gushed forth, reflecting a resplendent cold light. The thin edge of the sword gave off a sense of coldness, as though it could slice through the throat with a single slash. Just using a divine weapon. The eyes of that Devil Foundation expert flashed. You are truly not worthy to sit in that position. Between devil cultivators, victory is the most important. Would they still care about the rules? Qin Wendian shook his head. The wings of a great rock appeared behind him as his silhouette flickered. He was like a great rock as he directly dodged to the side, causing a look of astonishment to appear on the face of that devil cultivator. He actually chose to avoid the battle. Shameless. That devil cultivator chased after Qin Wendian, the blood-colored light radiating from him was terrifying. Qin Wendian, who was in front, lightly shook his head. This devil cultivator was truly stubborn. Not only did he not want to fight, he actually wanted to chase after Qin Wendian. Bzz. Qin Wendian abruptly turned, his speed akin to that of a wind rock. With a flash, he directly rushed towards that devil cultivator. Courting death. The powerful demonic cultivator's blood-colored demonic hand instantly enlarged, grabbing towards Qin Wendian's body. The blood-colored light directly engulfed Qin Wendian. Whoosh. The sword light was like a cold moon. Qin Wendian's body moved past his opponent and stopped behind his opponent. His body was filled with terrifying rule power, and on the body of the demonic cultivator, traces of the sword piercing through appeared. Accompanied by a piercing sound, the sword chi completely erupted. The devil cultivator's countenance was filled with extreme fear as he screamed in agony. His body was completely torn apart and turned into nothingness. He had died. In the distance, there were two devil cultivators who just happened to witness this scene. They didn't come forward, instead, they quietly turned and left. That sword strike caused them to feel a chill run down their spine. It was best not to provoke this person for the time being. An unconventional move. The Blackstone Devil King nodded silently when he saw Qin Wendian's actions. This fellow was clearly powerful, yet he was so low profile, not even hesitating to fight. Although this might cause others to criticize him, the Blackstone Devil King could faintly understand that this was because Qin Wendian's ambition was too great. This little fellow is quite interesting. Mog's beautiful eyes landed in the direction of Qin Wendian as she smiled. Summoning a divine weapon right at the start of the battle. Also, although this divine weapon hasn't unleashed its full power, it definitely isn't weak. Even if his strength is strong, it ultimately isn't the King Dao. Only Huang Shatian can kill those who obstruct him. This is the tyrannical path of a devil. The aura of a king isn't something that the sword-wielding devil cultivator can compare to. The old Xia Devil King who was at the side spoke. He still regarded Huang Shatian more highly. Tyrannical, cold, those who obstructed him would die. Such a devil was a true devil lord. Only a devil lord would be able to achieve the strongest devil Dao. Old Xia naturally has his reasons for saying this. Mog smiled. She was the Lodge Lord of the Celestial Devil Lodge and was naturally extremely tactful when interacting with others. If the Celestial Devil Lodge wanted to continue existing on the fallen Devil Island, they definitely had to have a connection with the Devil Emperor. Today, everyone saw her leaning on the Devil Emperor. As long as the Devil Emperor was around, who would dare to touch the Celestial Devil Lodge? However, Mog also understood that there were some people she couldn't afford to offend. For example, this old Xia. The weight of this old man in the heart of the Devil Emperor was extremely heavy. Hence, she naturally had to listen to his words. Look at Xia Yuan, he isn't bad as well. He has the same aura as you did back then. The Devil Emperor laughed, his gaze landing on Xia Yuan. Although Xia Yuan isn't bad, if he fought against old Chai head-on, he might still lose. The old Xia Devil King frowned. Although he had high hopes for Huang Shatian, he naturally also placed great importance on his descendant, Xia Yuan. Other than Xia Yuan and Huang Shatian, the other person he paid attention to was none other than old Chai. This old Chai held a hatchet in his hand and always had a smile on his face. He looked harmless, old and useless, but with a single slash, he could take someone's life. Killing his opponents was as easy as chopping firewood. Just by looking at his posture, these devil cultivators could tell that countless people had died under his hands. Only then would he be able to cultivate such a natural killing hatchet technique. Xia Yuan was tyrannical, old Chai was sinister and cold-blooded. Old Xia was more interested in old Chai's strength. However, if old Chai encountered Huang Shatian, under the tyranny of the Devil Dao, old Chai would die for sure. The eyes of the old Xia Devil King gleamed with sharpness. Mog's beautiful eyes flashed with a deep smile. This old Xia Devil King was such a character, yet he actually hoped for a junior like old Chai to die. Most probably, it was because Xia Yuan and old Chai were both the most outstanding characters on the devil rankings. In addition to old Chai's danger, he felt that old Chai might be able to threaten Xia Yuan's life. However, old Chai was also an extremely intelligent person. He knew how powerful Xia Yuan was as well as his identity. How would he act against Xia Yuan so easily? The devil kings behind him were different from the people the old Xia Devil King paid attention to. They were all paying attention to the people they brought with them. If they could be ranked within the top 10 by the Devil Emperor, they would be able to leave behind an impression on the Devil Emperor. Also, this would be an extremely glorious matter. What's even more beneficial was that once they were selected by the Devil Emperor, the rewards from the Devil Emperor were secondary. They would definitely be able to join a Supreme Devil sect on the fallen Devil Island and might even become a direct subordinate force of the Devil Emperor. In that case, they would have people on the fallen Devil Island in the future. The people on the battlefield didn't think so much. They were only thinking about how to obtain victory. If they wanted to be selected by the Devil Emperor, they had to stay until the very end. If not, they would all be eliminated. It was useless no matter how high their talent was. It was impossible for the Devil Emperor to select someone to be eliminated. If they were killed, things would be even more miserable. In the battlefield, battles continued to erupt like a rolling snowball. In fact, there were even chaotic battles where both sides were suddenly ambushed. An example was Qin Wentian's battle earlier. If he wasn't able to insta-kill his opponent, the two devil cultivators who saw him would definitely be able to reap the benefits. In a certain location, Azure Flame Tua was currently fighting against an expert. As a peak stage Devil Foundation expert of the Azure Flame clan, Azure Flame Tuo's strength naturally wasn't weak. Although he wasn't as outstanding as the experts on the devil rankings, he still had tyrannical combat prowess. Devil might gushed forth from him as his entire body was bathed in devil flames. He was like a devil from the depths of hell, causing the entire space to be incomparably hot. His powerful attacks frenziedly clashed against his opponent. Every time he blasted out an azure flame palm, it would leave behind a devil fire seed of destruction in his opponent's body. Also, the palm imprint would absorb the energy in the surroundings, growing increasingly tyrannical. Tua is not bad. In the Devil King seats, the clan leader of the Azure Flame clan silently nodded his head as he observed Azure Flame Tuo's performance. Blackstone, it's truly a great fortune for your daughter to be able to marry into my Azure Flame clan. The Azure Flame clan leader spoke to the Blackstone Devil King, who was not far away. No matter what, both parties were in-laws, he naturally knew of the Blackstone Devil King. Clan leader, you might not know, but the Blackstone Devil King has always been unhappy. Right now, he brought his third daughter over to stay in our clan. This third daughter of his is even more beautiful than her elder sister, but her temper isn't small at all. She doesn't even respect Tua or this brother-in-law at all and seems to like a devil general under the Blackstone Devil King. An expert at the side spoke. This caused the clan leader to start. He then spoke, Blackstone Devil King, why don't you let your third daughter marry Tuaur as well? You have also seen how outstanding Tuaur is. He naturally wouldn't bring shame to your daughters. Azure Flame clan leader, why must you humiliate me like this? The voice of the Blackstone Devil King turned cold as anger could be seen on his face. Humiliate? The Azure Flame clan leader shook his head. Shouldn't this be the fortune of your daughters? As he spoke, he turned his gaze over and continued to watch Azure Flame Tuo's battle. At this moment, Azure Flame Tuo's violent attacks had already heavily injured his opponent. However, his brows twitched as he spoke, since that person is about to arrive, I wonder how strong he is. If he is strong, it would be hard for Tuaur to deal with him. The eyes of the Blackstone Devil King gleamed with sharpness. Qin Wentian had arrived. Qin Wentian had left the Azure Flame clan a long time ago. Hence, the Devil Kings of the Azure Flame clan didn't know of him. They only heard that the Blackstone Devil King brought a devil general with him and that his daughter was in love with that devil general. On the battlefield, Azure Flame Tua finally heavily injured his opponent and fled in a sorry state. But at this moment, he also saw Qin Wentian appearing. His expression instantly turned cold. Before entering the Devil Emperor's grand banquet, he had always looked down on Qin Wentian. But after that, Yi Zimo appeared beside Qin Wentian and Qin Wentian walked to the core position, causing him to feel an intense sense of humiliation in his heart. Right now, when he stood before Qin Wentian, he actually wanted to test how strong Qin Wentian was exactly. Scram! Qin Wentian brandished the demon sword as he coldly spoke, continuing forward. Keep your devil weapon and fight with me. Azure Flame Tua unleashed his law energy to the extreme, causing the entire space around him to be incomparably hot. Qin Wentian glanced at Azure Flame Tua before keeping his demon sword. Might as well. In that case, he should be able to give that little lass the third princess some face. A violent aura gushed forth as law energy enveloped his entire body. Qin Wentian moved like a bolt of lightning towards Azure Flame Tua. Azure Flame Tua roared. A palm imprint that was like the abyss of hell slammed down towards Qin Wentian, akin to a demon king of hell opening its bloody maw. Qin Wentian's speed soared to the extreme, he didn't stop. He lifted his palm and blasted out towards the incoming palm imprint. With a thunderous boom, a hole appeared in the palm imprint as Qin Wentian directly rushed out from it. Azure Flame Tuo's countenance drastically changed. With a roar of rage, he transformed into a giant made of azure flames, unleashing a palm strike that could topple mountains and overturn seas, frenziedly blasting out. Qin Wentian's body erupted with an extremely bright light. His perfect immortal foundation that was infused with devilish energy erupted forth. His terrifying body of laws gushed forth, akin to an apocalyptic halberd slashing out, transforming into an incomparably terrifying vortex that shattered the azure flame palms as it directly shot towards Azure Flame Tua. Azure Flame Tua lifted his hands and blasted out explosively. The ancient halberd slammed into his palms and a miserable scream rang out. A destructive wound directly appeared on his body as he was flung through the air, slamming heavily onto the ground. So you are so weak. Qin Wentian frowned. He shook his head and left, not killing him. Chapter 1266. If Qin Wentian wanted to kill Azure Flame Tua would die for sure. However, Azure Flame Tua was the brother-in-law of the third princess after all. Also, both the third princess and the Blackstone Devil King lived in the Azure Flame clan. This bloodline connection couldn't be severed. If he killed Azure Flame Tua, it would only cause the Blackstone Devil King and the third princess to be in danger. Although he didn't kill Azure Flame Tua, it was clear that Azure Flame Tua's battle had already ended. Given how heavily injured he was, if he didn't leave the battlefield now, only death would be waiting for him. Azure Flame Tua fed himself a medicinal pill and climbed up. He flew towards the light screen in the air, leaving the battlefield with hatred and reluctance. Outside, the people from the Azure Flame clan all had ashen expressions. That fellow coldly spoke. Tuar's luck is a little bad, he actually encountered that fellow. Hee hee. The Blackstone Devil King laughed mockingly. Blackstone Devil King, what do you mean by this? A Devil King from the Azure Flame clan coldly spoke. Before this, didn't you guys notice him greeting me? He is none other than the Devil General under me. The Blackstone Devil King coldly laughed. After that, the expressions of the people from the Azure Flame clan changed, becoming extremely unsightly to behold. Earlier, they were still mocking the third princess for falling in love with a devil general and suggested for her to marry Azure Flame Tua, saying that it would be an honor for Yen Yurua. But in the blink of an eye, their pride, Azure Flame Tua, was mercilessly defeated by the devil general of the Blackstone Devil King. Snorting coldly, the people from the Azure Flame clan didn't say anything. The truth was before their eyes, they had no way to refute it. On the other side, Yen Yusen's countenance was as pale as paper, extremely unsightly to behold. Her right now had an indescribable feeling in her heart. They didn't even bother to look at the young man in the eye. Most probably, he also didn't think highly of her and her husband. Hence, he very naturally chose to leave. As for the battle on the battlefield, there was no doubt that they were the ones seeking humiliation for themselves. If it wasn't for the mocking earlier, how would there be the humiliation and anger they felt now? After Azure Flame Tua returned, he directly walked back to his seat. His body was trembling as those words resounded in his ears. So it turns out that you are so weak. He, Azure Flame Tua, was so weak yet he still thought so highly of himself. The impact of this battle to the people of the Azure Flame clan was extremely great. Maybe, the defeat of a genius on the battlefield would affect the hearts of many. But to the victors, they wouldn't think too much about it. The battles would continue and more people would be eliminated. This was especially so to Qin Wentian. Azure Flame Tua had never been his target, it was just a coincidence that he encountered him. If they hadn't met, he might have even forgotten the existence of this person. This forest seemed to be extremely vast. Qin Wentian continued moving forward, and occasionally, he would see battles erupting. When those people saw him, they would instantly be filled with wariness, wanting to prevent him from launching a sneak attack. However, Qin Wentian would only cast a glance at them before leaving. He had no mood to interfere with the battles of others. He only had a single goal, and that was to stay until the end. He was very clear that in the earlier stages of the battle, it was destined that batches of cannon fodder would be eliminated. There were only a mere 10 people selected by the Devil Emperor. For the others, other than hoping to be selected by the Devil Emperor, they still had hopes of being valued by the Devil sections. But for him, Qin Wentian, it was different. In truth, if he didn't become one of the 3 chosen by the Devil Emperor, it could already be considered his failure. In the battlefield, the devils fought chaotically. Numerous battles erupted, causing the spectators to be nervous and excited. As for the Devil Kings, they were admiring the characters they selected. However, there was no lack of clever people on the battlefield. They used all kinds of methods to avoid direct confrontation. In the eyes of outsiders, all kinds of methods were exposed. Some people cultivated the art of concealment and took advantage of the weakness of the demonic thoughts to hide in the mountain rocks or bury themselves in the ground. They endured and did not make a move. There were also some who were proficient in listening to the wind and could evade before encountering other devil cultivators. Although such actions were somewhat despicable, it was also an extremely intelligent choice. There were countless experts on the battlefield. Unless you truly stood at the peak, there would always be existences more terrifying than you. If that was the case, you would be eliminated prematurely, not even having the chance to be noticed. True experts have no fear of war. If gods block them, they will kill gods. If devils block them, they will kill devils. A tyrannical devil king spoke. There were some existences who were like this. As the battles continued, these people became more and more conspicuous. For example, Huang Shatian, Xia Yuan, Ba Xiao, and the others. Many people on the fallen Devil Island were acquainted with Xia Yuan Ba Xiao. But Huang Shatian caused everyone to sigh in admiration. Before this, the seat he was seated at was the most central area, and the combat prowess he displayed now was truly heaven-shaking. It was like in this vast battlefield, he had never met a true opponent before. A terrifying light screen appeared, revealing half of a devil sword, devil saber, and long spear. It was as though half of them were in the void while the other half were outside. With a single thought, the other half of the void would immediately shoot out. At the same time, spatial energy would envelop his opponents, making him invincible. This man, who is he exactly? This thought appeared in the minds of many. Before this, the participants from the core region were all the focus of attention. Undoubtedly, Huang Shatian was the most conspicuous existence among them. In comparison, Qin Wentian was much dimmer. Although he also defeated several opponents, he lacked the tyrannical aura he exuded. Most of the time, he chose to avoid battles. Gradually, the number of people paying attention to him grew fewer and fewer. Sir Qin, what sort of character are you exactly? Xinu was one of the few people who had been paying attention to Qin Wentian. Facing the threat of Ba Xiao, he didn't hesitate and walked out of the Celestial Devil Lodge, domineering and tyrannical. He clearly had great strength, yet he chose to keep a low profile, preferring to be criticized by others, making it hard for others to see through him. He should know that his performance on the battlefield would be seen by the people of the outside world. They are about to encounter each other. At this moment, Xinu's eyes flashed as she stared in another direction, in the direction of Ba Xiao. To her surprise, she discovered that Ba Xiao was actually about to encounter Qin Wentian's subordinate, Qi De. In addition, they seemed to have already seen each other's existence. Ba Xiao stepped out and moved in that direction, appearing before Qi De. Sir Qin is also in that direction. Xinu's beautiful eyes flashed. As to why she noticed that Ba Xiao and Qi De were about to encounter each other, it was because they were in the direction where Qin Wentian was moving. Although there were still many people in the middle, if Qin Wentian moved in a straight line, he would definitely encounter them. A tyrannical aura gushed forth from Ba Xiao as devil might gushed forth. He stared at Qi De and spoke, "Before I kill your master, I will take your dog life first." As he finished speaking, he stepped out, and a Haotian demonic hammer appeared in the air. A terrifying hammer smashed down from the sky, and terrifying demonic lightning covered the sky. At the same time, the demonic hammer contained extremely heavy gravity, wanting to crush the space around it. Ba Xiao was one of the top 3 rankers on the devil rankings. When his strength erupted forth, it was extremely terrifying. At this instant, Qi De felt as though he was facing a calamity of death. Boom! Crackling sounds rang out from Qi De's body. His entire body seemed to grow larger as numerous runes radiated from his bones and meridians. In an instant, his entire body shone with a supreme battle light. The people of the Battle Saint tribe all possessed the Battle Saint blood and the Battle Saint bone. Even though they were stripped of their most terrifying inheritances, they still possessed terrifying talent. Their battle intent soared up into the clouds as a divine battle ape appeared, bearing the weight of the sky on its back. Qi De lifted his arm as the divine ape did the same, smashing towards the vast sky devil hammer in the air. The simplest attack was also the most violent attack. How could the people of the Battle Saint tribe avoid a battle? A heaven-shaking collision rang out in the air as terrifying explosions rang out, akin to muffled thunder. A moment later, many devil cultivators from afar inclined their heads and stared in the direction of their battle. After that, their bodies flickered as they sped towards the direction of their battle. The battle between Ba Xiao and Qi De erupted. The clear sky demonic hammer was domineering and tyrannical, while the battle saint technique was invincible. Ba Xiao was victorious because he had peaked at the threshold of the Devil King realm for a longer period of time, and his cultivation realm was deeper. Who is this man? Ba Xiao is one of the top 3 rankers on the devil rankings. Why can't he defeat an ordinary character? The eyes of everyone flashed. Many people from the fallen Devil Island noticed the battle between Ba Xiao and Cheetah. The two of them exchanged attacks with attacks. The more they fought, the more violent they became. Such an intense battle caused a huge commotion, attracting the attention of people from far away. There were already many devil cultivators who appeared in that area, quietly spectating the battle. There were also some weaker devil cultivators who silently retreated. Interesting. At this moment, an expert was leaning against a tree, staring at the battle before him. In his hands, there was an ordinary-looking saber that seemed to be used for chopping firewood. It's Old Chai. Since he appeared, Ba Xiao and his opponent are in danger. Someone thought in his heart. Old Chai was an extremely dangerous person. If he were to sit there and reap the benefits, even if Ba Xiao and Yi Shiwen were very powerful, they would still be in danger. What are you guys looking at here for? Don't disturb the battles of others. Old Chai laughed as he walked forward, actually walking towards the center of the battlefield as he spoke to the people in the surroundings. What are you doing here? Someone asked in doubt. Old Chai smiled at him and walked a few steps towards him. I'm naturally here to admire this battle. Such a powerful battle, I don't want to be disturbed by you guys. Is that so? That person's aura gushed forth, staring warily at Old Chai who was walking over. What else? Old Chai laughed as he placed his saber behind his back. But at this very moment, an afterimage appeared. That person's aura abruptly erupted forth as he retreated. Yet at this very moment, Old Chai's hatchet cleaved downwards. As the saber descended, a vertical scar appeared in the air. After that, the crowd only saw a line of blood appearing. That person was still retreating, but his body was actually split apart from the center by a single slash of that saber. What a terrifying saber art! Many people felt their hearts trembling. Everyone, be careful. Several devil cultivators walked together, as though they wanted to join forces in order to avoid being hunted down by Old Chai. However, at this moment, Old Chai merely laughed. He inclined his head and stared at the two people fighting in the air. His eyes were filled with a hint of killing intent. With a single slash of his saber, he might have a chance to finish off these two powerful opponents. Old man, you are already so old, yet your attacks are so ruthless. A voice rang out. Old Chai inclined his head as a smile appeared on his face. This person was actually that young man who was seated in the same region as him. Chapter 1267. Old Chai truly looked very old. This was especially so when he smiled. Wrinkles could be seen on his face. With such a cultivation base, yet he still looked so old. This could only mean that he was truly very, very old. Being able to survive in the myriad devil islands despite his age, it could only mean that this person was very intelligent. After all, it was very difficult for a person to not offend others. At Old Chai's age, it was very normal for him to offend people whose cultivation bases surpassed his. Unless, those he offended had a lower cultivation base than him or were killed by him. Only then would he be able to continue living well. Being able to live for so long, he was naturally a very dangerous person. I'm already old and can't be compared to you youngsters. If I'm not careful, I might die. Please forgive me. Old Chai clasped his hands to Qin Wentian. Brother, you and I are both capable of reaching the core positions. Why don't we join forces? In that case, I believe there wouldn't be many who could obstruct us. If we join forces, should we kill everyone here first? Qin Wentian smiled. Old Chai inclined his head and glanced at the two people fighting in the air as a meaningful smile appeared on his face. Ba Xiao and Cheetah were both extremely dangerous people. It would naturally be better for him to get rid of them first. Old bastard, the person in front of me is his subordinate. You want to join forces with him? You won't even know how you died. In the air, Ba Xiao coldly snorted. He naturally understood what sort of character old Chai was. He definitely couldn't allow old Chai to act against him. In that case, he could only let old Chai and Qin Wendian stand against each other. Upon hearing Ba Xiao's words, old Chai's eyes flashed. He stared at Qin Wendian. Really? Qin Wendian smiled. He didn't admit nor deny. Honestly speaking, I'm already so old. If I continue to stay at this cultivation realm, I'm afraid I might not be able to live on. Hence, I must obtain the Devil Emperor's nomination this time. Old Chai stared at Qin Wendian as he spoke. Our goal is the same. Qin Wendian nodded lightly. He wasn't in a hurry to act. As long as old Chai didn't provoke him, there was no need for him to fight against such a dangerous fellow. Let's try it out. If I win, you don't have to fight with me. If you win, I won't fight with you. Old Chai stared at Qin Wendian as he spoke. Wielding the hatchet in his hands, he walked towards Qin Wendian as a powerful saber intent gushed forth, ravaging this entire space. The leaves that drifted down from the sky were all shredded into dust. Nothing could get close to old Chai. Qin Wendian brandished the demon's sword as he stared at the approaching old Chai. Around him, law energy circulated unceasingly. Buzz. A shadow appeared as old Chai's body disappeared. In the next instant, he appeared in the air above Qin Wendian. He waved his hand and the blade fell. It was still an ordinary slash. This slash was as simple as chopping firewood. However, wasn't cultivation also about the simplicity of the great Tao? When one reached the extreme, they would return to their natural state. As this saber slashed down, boundless saber might converged into a single slash, treating the heavens and earth as firewood. As long as it blocked its path, it would be chopped apart. What was even more terrifying was that the hatchet in old Chai's hand seemed to have been sharpened. A supreme devilish might gushed forth, descending from the sky. That was a black-colored saber of destruction, causing a black line of destruction to appear in the air. How could this saber merely be used to chop firewood? The color of the sky changed as the expressions of the people in the surroundings turned ashen. If such a saber slashed down on them, they would die for sure. Fast, the speed of this saber art was even faster than lightning. In old Chai's eyes, there were no longer any traces of aging, only a terrifying killing intent. The instant old Chai's saber slashed down, Qin Wendian's sword had already moved. His sword hummed as a murderous aura filled the air. At the instant that black-colored saber light slashed down, Qin Wendian's sword suddenly turned incomparably demonic, transforming into a 1,000-meter-long gigantic sword that slashed towards old Chai in the air. At that instant, the spectators only saw a gigantic rock flying towards the incoming saber light. Kacha! The saber light and sword light clashed together. At this instant, that destructive light caused the hearts of the spectators to tremble. Old Chai and Qin Wendian both retreated explosively. The terrifying destructive might gushed towards the sky and the ground, causing a gigantic fissure to appear on the ground. He blocked it. The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness. Such a terrifying saber strike was actually blocked by Qin Wendian. His reaction speed was truly terrifying. That hatchet is clearly an extremely powerful divine weapon of a devil king. The crowd stared at old Chai's hands. That seemingly harmless old man suddenly erupted forth with such a destructive saber strike, catching everyone off guard. This old Chai was simply too dangerous. Qin Wendian was truly terrifying as well, he could even block such a saber strike. In truth, Qin Wendian was also sweating profusely. For an old monster like old Chai, how could he trust him so easily? Old Chai's appearance and the smile on his face. Being able to live to such an age without dying, it could only mean that this old Chai was an old monster. Hence, he had been on guard against him. As expected, old Chai's first strike was an earth-shattering sure-kill strike, directly using a powerful devil weapon. How would he care about the rules of combat? That saber strike was clearly aiming for his life. Although old Chai was very old, given that he was able to sit in his region, how could he be weak? In truth, Old Chai was the most dangerous existence in the Devil Foundation realm on the fallen Devil Island. His attack didn't succeed. Old Chai's heart trembled slightly. He glanced at Qin Wentian, silently musing at how terrifying Qin Wentian was. Old Chai still had a harmless smile on his face as he spoke, "Farewell." After speaking, he actually turned and departed, avoiding a head-on confrontation with Qin Wentian. He wouldn't fight a battle he had no confidence in, unless it was at the very last moment. He, Old Chai, wanted a conclusion, but he didn't care about vanity and pride. Just like what he said, he was already very old. If he still couldn't take this step, he would die sooner or later. Only he himself understood how difficult it was for him to live until now. Old Chai actually retreated. The Devil Kings in the outside world felt somewhat bewildered. This was especially so for the Devil Kings of the fallen Devil Island. They all knew what sort of character Old Chai was. Seems like although this little fellow has been avoiding endless battles, his strength is still not bad. The Devil Emperor smiled at the old Xia Devil King beside him, as though intentionally angering him. He knew that the old Xia Devil King liked Huang Shatian the most. He's not bad, but I don't find him very pleasing to the eye. Huang Shatian suits my taste better. The old Xia Devil King spoke. On the battlefield, Qin Wentian swept his gaze over the experts in the surroundings. These devil cultivators who didn't leave were clearly waiting to reap the benefits. Cheetah was still fighting, how could he allow these people to take advantage of him? All of you, scram. Qin Wentian took a few steps forward, standing in the middle of the crowd as he coldly spat out a command. Although he was avoiding battles, he wasn't afraid of them. When the time came, he would naturally stand out. If they didn't scram, he would send them all to scram. There were quite a few devil cultivators who had joined forces. When they heard Qin Wentian's words, all of them frowned as coldness flashed in their eyes. He told them to scram. Qin Wentian glanced at their expressions and knew that it wouldn't be so easy for these people to scram. He brandished the demon's sword and stepped out towards them. A terrifying light gushed forth from him as numerous ancient runes erupted forth from him, rushing towards the devil cultivators. Quite a few devil cultivators took out their own devil weapons as devil might gushed forth. At this moment, Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed, vanishing from sight as he directly lunged towards one of the devil cultivators. The countenance of that devil cultivator changed. He lifted a gigantic devil axe and cleaved it down towards Qin Wentian. Die! Qin Wentian coldly roared. The demon's sword hummed as a great rock flashed past, exuding extreme speed and sharpness. Puchi! A piercing sound rang out. Even before the axe light landed, a line of blood appeared on the neck of that person. At this moment, that person's axe slashed down, only to be blocked by Qin Wentian with a single palm strike. As for that person, he had already died. The other devil cultivators who wanted to step out halted as their countenances turned incredibly unsightly. When Qin Wentian turned around and stared at them, all of them retreated slightly. Scram, I won't say it a third time. Qin Wentian coldly spoke again. The countenances of the few of them grew incredibly unsightly to behold. After which, they turned and departed the area. Very swiftly, only the two of them and Qin Wentian remained. This fellow. Those in the outside world who were paying attention to Qin Wentian were speechless. Before this, he didn't have a strong desire to battle. But now, he suddenly became so domineering, driving everyone away. How tyrannical. Avoiding battle wasn't because he was afraid of battle. Seems like these people who wanted to avoid battle couldn't be underestimated. After all of them were here for the same goal. Survive, stay behind, and attract the attention of the Devil Emperor. Ba Xiao, who was in the air, had an unsightly expression on his face. He had no way to defeat his opponent and Qin Wentian was glaring at him like a tiger watching its prey. This was extremely disadvantageous to him. Also, the man before him actually grew more and more ferocious as the battle progressed. His battle intent seemed to grow stronger as the battle progressed. Qin Wentian slowly soared up into the air. He who had the demon's sword in his hand flew by the side, not interfering in Qi Da's battle. Qi Da was someone from the Battle Saint tribe. He needed battles to temper himself. He needed an endless stream of battles. The more he fought, the stronger the might of the Battle Saint bone would be. Ba Xiao will definitely be defeated. The spectators could all see the ending of this battle. The countenances of the experts from the Royal Devil sect were all extremely unsightly. Ba Xiao was a top 3 ranker on the Devil rankings, yet he actually lost so mysteriously to someone from another island. Rumble. At this moment, Ba Xiao, who no longer had the heart to continue fighting, took out his devil weapon. A terrifying devil hammer smashed down towards Qi Da. Swish! Almost at the same time, Qin Wentian's demon sword slashed out. If Ba Xiao wanted to continue fighting, he wouldn't have interfered. But since Ba Xiao didn't want to fight anymore, let's end this then. Upon feeling the threat, Ba Xiao changed the direction of his devil hammer, smashing it towards Qin Wentian. Bang! The demon sword transformed into a gigantic sword, colliding with the devil hammer. Another fearsome great rock appeared, letting out a long screech, wanting to devour the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian slammed his palm onto the demon's sword, only to see the demon's sword directly rushing out, transforming back into a tiny sword and piercing towards Ba Xiao's throat. Ba Xiao roared in rage, lifting his palms to block the demon's sword. However, Qi Da's attack landed, causing Ba Xiao's expression to turn extremely unsightly. For the sake of Lady Xinu, you can only die. Qin Wentian calmly spoke, his words causing Ba Xiao to feel his entire body turning cold. This cold voice seemed to be announcing his death. Qin Wentian's silhouette pierced through the violent devil might, appearing before Ba Xiao. An ancient halberd of destruction appeared in his hands as he stabbed towards Ba Xiao, wanting to devour him. Qi Da was already barely able to fight alone, let alone Qin Wentian, who was even stronger. Ba Xiao roared in anger, as though he was filled with reluctance. Being attacked from both front and back, there was basically no way for him to break through. He could only wait for death. The ancient halberd pierced into his throat, seizing his life in a single strike. Ba Xiao's throat trembled, his eyes stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. He was actually killed. Because of jealousy in the Celestial Devil Lodge, Ba Xiao, died. Chapter 1268. Ba Xiao is dead. Outside the battlefield, many experts, including Devil Kings, were paying attention to this battle. When they saw Ba Xiao's death, their eyes gleamed with sharpness. Ba Xiao was a famous character on the Devil rankings. Usually, he was tyrannical, powerful, and had a deep background. Very few people dared to antagonize him. As one of the top 3 rankers on the Devil rankings, Ba Xiao was one of the hottest contenders chosen by the Devil Emperor. Even if he was unlucky and couldn't win, he would still choose to flee. But clearly, nobody expected that he would actually die in this battlefield. Many people glanced in a certain direction, in the direction of an extremely esteemed seat. Over there, experts from the Royal Devil sect could be seen. When they saw Ba Xiao being killed, their countenances all turned extremely unsightly, turning ashen. Ba Xiao is truly unlucky. He encountered a ruthless character and was killed by the joint forces of 2 of them. Someone at the side spoke in a low voice. 2 of them joining forces. Despicable. Blackstone Devil King, are these your generals? The people from the Royal Devil sect all had ugly expressions on their faces. They originally didn't know of the Blackstone Devil King, but from the conversation earlier, they all heard it. It seems that Ba Xiao himself knew he couldn't win and took out his devil weapon. If not, Qin Wentian wouldn't have any intentions of interfering at all. In truth, Ba Xiao couldn't even fight one-on-one. The Blackstone Devil King calmly spoke. Everyone. At this moment, the Demon Emperor suddenly spoke up. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone in the vast space could hear him clearly. Today's devil battle is a part of my birthday banquet. Everyone who entered is of their own free will. Before this, I've already made it clear that the people in here are all geniuses of my fallen devil region. However, it's inevitable that there would be casualties. I know that the casualties might be members of your clans or sects, or even your loved ones. But I still have to remind everyone that even if they enter the battlefield willingly and die in battle, you are not allowed to vent your anger on them. If such actions occur, don't blame me for being impolite. The Devil Emperor faintly spoke to everyone. In truth, his words were mainly to remind those Devil King powerhouses. With regards to this point, the Devil Emperor was extremely strict. It had been like this for all the previous generations. If they were to encounter revenge the moment they came out, who would dare to participate in this battle? In the past, there was once a tyrannical power on the fallen Devil Island seeking revenge. After the subordinates of the Devil Emperor learned of this, he directly uprooted that power, destroying it completely. The Devil Emperor was the supreme king of the fallen Devil region. No matter if you were a Devil King or a Devil Foundation expert, no matter if you were from a major clan or a minor clan, to the Devil Emperor, there was no difference if he was angered. The majesty of the Demon Emperor could not be doubted, nor could it be blasphemed. The expressions of the people from the Royal Devil sect sank. They knew that the Devil Emperor was reminding them that Ba Xiao was the first person to fall. Hence, the Devil Emperor's words carried a lot of weight. Ba Xiao's death could only be blamed on his bad luck. Although this guy keeps a low profile, he's still a thorn in his side. Everyone looked at Qin Wentian, who was in the middle of the battlefield. Even someone like Ba Xiao had died at his hands. No matter how he had killed him, the level of danger he posed had undoubtedly risen in everyone's hearts. Xianyu stared at Qin Wentian as her beautiful eyes flickered. She mused in her heart, Sir Qin killed Ba Xiao because of Xianyu? Ba Xiao was an expert from the Royal Devil sect and had threatened her before. By killing Ba Xiao, the threat she posed to him would naturally disappear. But by killing Ba Xiao, Qin Wentian would undoubtedly offend the Royal Devil sect. However, Qin Wentian didn't think too much about it. He only had a single goal, and that was to gain the favor of the Devil Emperor. If he couldn't achieve his goal, it would mean that he had failed. If that was the case, he would directly leave the fallen Devil Island. After killing Ba Xiao, Qin Wentian nodded to Qida, let's continue on our way. Right, leave the combat to me. I need a battle of this level. Qida spoke. At his level, it wasn't so easy to find a suitable opponent. And this battlefield undoubtedly provided him with the conditions. There were many people here who were extremely suitable to stimulate their potential. Qin Wentian nodded. The two of them continued on their way, with Qida acting. If his opponent took out a powerful devil weapon, only then would Qin Wentian act to kill him. Along the way, there was basically no one who could obstruct the two of them. And as time flowed by, the number of people on the battlefield also decreased rapidly. There were people who died, some were eliminated, and some returned to their seats with reluctance, becoming spectators. At the same time, more and more people attracted the attention of Devil Kings from the various major powers. There was actually a group of extremely powerful characters appearing in this batch of participants. Any one of them could be characters on the same level as Ba Xiao, extremely powerful. Some of the Devil Kings who came from the fallen Devil Island had expressions of arrogance on their faces. For these people, there were devil generals under them who followed them to the fallen Devil Island. They actually walked together. Why do I feel that they know each other? At this moment, someone noticed that there was an additional person beside Qin Wentian and Qida. This person was an extremely powerful expert and was also a beautiful young lady with extraordinary strength. How can this be? A Devil King's eyes flashed with sharpness. This young lady was a devil general under him and his island was extremely far away from the Blackstone Devil Island. By right, there shouldn't be any interactions between the generals under him and the Blackstone Devil King. Could it be love at first sight? That would be even more ridiculous. In such a situation, as the powerful Wu Xiu, if such a thing happened, there must be something wrong with his head. The three of them gathered together. To the astonishment of the crowd, the one in charge of combat was still Qida. As for that beautiful young lady, Qin Wentian was still the most relaxed one. This made everyone feel that the three of them were using Qin Wentian as the core, saving energy for him. Qi De and that young lady weren't weaker than Ba Xiao. With two such powerful characters using him as the core, was this Qin Wentian really just a devil general under the Blackstone Devil King? Blackstone Devil King, who is that devil general under you exactly? A Devil King asked. Has he been growing up under your command? Evidently, everyone was suspicious. Could the Blackstone Devil King really nurture such a character? He is on my Blackstone Devil Island and has become a devil general under me. He is naturally my subordinate. As for what sort of person he was before, why would I care? The Blackstone Devil King calmly replied. In truth, he was also feeling more and more how extraordinary Qin Wentian was. Qin Wentian had always been concealing himself. Before this, he thought that it was already very impressive for him to be able to defeat Xian Ting. But from the looks of it, he was still holding back. In addition, Qin Wentian came from the immortal realms. Thinking of this, the Blackstone Devil King could faintly sense that Qin Wentian's status in the immortal realms was truly extraordinary. What was his purpose for coming to the Myriad Devil Islands exactly? There was another person who was exceptionally eye-catching. It was none other than the expert who sat beside Qin Wentian earlier. That person also once sat in the core position and had outstanding talent. At the start, he didn't attract much attention, but as the battles progressed, everyone discovered that he grew stronger and stronger. His opponents were strong, but he was stronger as well. There were several rankers on the devil rankings who fought against him, but they were all killed or eliminated by him. Only then did his name gradually become known to everyone. Time continued to pass, and the number of battles continued to decrease. Tens of thousands of demons danced about, and countless people fought in the same space. The scene was grand and majestic, but the rate of elimination was also extremely fast, and the number of people was reduced by several times. The crowd was also quietly appreciating each battle. The frequency of battles continued to decrease, but the strength of the two sides was clearly growing stronger. Many battles were very exciting. Those who were kicked out also knew that even if they didn't encounter powerful characters before, they wouldn't be able to obtain the Devil Emperor's favor. There were simply too many tyrannical characters among them. We can lure them to the burial gorge. The Devil Emperor spoke, his words causing the gazes of everyone to stiffen. After that, they discovered to their astonishment that the space around the battlefield was beginning to distort. No matter who it was, no matter which direction they chose, they would all end up in the same direction. Over there was a gigantic mountain range that would become the intersection point. The formation is changing. The Devil Emperor gave the order to control the formation, telling everyone to gather at the burial gorge. Everyone mused silently. Although the vast majority of experts were already eliminated, there were still over 1,000 experts in the battlefield. If they all gathered together, the situation would definitely be extremely terrifying. However, this was precisely what the Devil Emperor wanted to see. The experts on the battlefield all changed their direction. However, the distorted space made it so that no matter how they changed their direction, it was useless. They would still end up in the same direction. Unless they stayed at their original location and didn't move, as long as they moved, they would be closer to the burial gorge. Qin Wentian, Qi De, and Nanfeng Ruoxuan moved together. Nanfeng Ruoxuan was naturally a holy maiden chosen by the Namhuang clan and had a cultivation base at the peak of Immortal Foundation. She didn't even enter the Sacred Academy and was in closed-door seclusion to break through to the Immortal King realm. She has already been at the peak of Immortal Foundation for several hundred years and her current cultivation base was unfathomably deep. On the way, they met Xia Yuan. Xia Yuan glanced at the three of them as he frowned. Before this, Qin Wentian was sitting in front of him and was unfathomably deep. The other two were extraordinary as well. It was impossible for him to deal with all of them alone. Are you acquainted with Huang Shatian? Xia Yuan stared at Qin Wentian. Yes. Qin Wentian calmly replied. Is there a grudge? Xia Yuan asked again. In that case, you guys will lose for sure this time around. After Xia Yuan spoke, he continued moving forward. Qin Wendian frowned, only to see Qida asking, should we make him stay behind? Qin Wendian shook his head lightly. He was pondering over Xia Yuan's words. What did he mean? Did Xia Yuan have enough confidence in Huang Shaishan's strength and felt that he wouldn't be able to defeat Huang Shatian? Or was there some other reason? Let's continue moving forward. Qin Wendian spoke. The three of them continued forward, and gradually, they saw several devil cultivators heading in the same direction. Up ahead, there seemed to be a gorge, and in the various locations of the gorge, there were devil cultivators standing there proudly. There was a sandstorm in the gorge, as though it was a sign that a huge storm was about to descend. Chapter 1269. Huang Shatian. From afar, a sandstorm gusted as a figure slowly walked over. This person radiated a terrifying light, and behind him was a screen of light. Within the screen, countless sabers, swords, spears and halberds could be seen tearing through space. In an instant, the gazes of many turned to this person as a cold light flickered in their eyes. Your strength has increased by quite a bit. Why are you so confident now? What are you relying on exactly? Qin Wendian stared at Huang Shatian as he spoke. Boom! A thunderous sound rang out as that devil cultivator died. In this battlefield, I only have one opponent. At this moment, Huang Shatian swept his gaze over everyone as he spoke in a cold tone. His words caused the eyes of the crowd to flicker. He only had one opponent. How impudent! That devil cultivator coldly spoke when he saw the look in Huang Shaishan's eyes. Also, the powerful Huang Shatian had fought against this devil cultivator in the past, and both of them were heavily injured. Huang Shatian even admitted that he was defeated. In the canyon ahead, all the devil cultivators stood there. The sandstorm billowed, fluttering their long robes. Even before they arrived at the canyon, they could already sense the impending storm. In this battlefield, only he was number one. No one could stand against him. If Qin Wendian had Huang Shaishan's cultivation base, he would also be able to unleash his strength without hesitation. No one would dare to antagonize him. If he had Huang Shaishan's cultivation base, he was confident that he would be able to defeat Huang Shatian. However, he was only at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation and comprehended the might of an immortal king much later compared to Huang Shatian. Back then, during the intense battle in the Sacred Academy, he also used the power of his bloodline that he couldn't control and unleashed a destructive strike when Huang Shatian was careless. Only then was he able to heavily injure Huang Shatian. How arrogant! A voice abruptly rang out. An expert stared at Huang Shatian as he spoke. This person was also an extraordinary character, one of the rankers on the devil rankings of the fallen Devil Island. He was confident in his own strength, and even if he fought against those in the core regions, he wouldn't be weak. Hence, when he saw how domineering Huang Shatian was, he coldly spoke. Therefore, it went without saying that no one on this battlefield could contend against Huang Shatian. Of course, Qin Wendian did not count himself among them. His body stood in his own spatial world. That was his law domain. The battlefield we are in was originally created by a formation. Since it's a formation, it would naturally be able to control it. Seems like all the devil cultivators in the battlefield were all brought here by the formation, engaging in a true war of devils. Qin Wendian was very familiar with formations, he could guess the reason with a single glance. Huang Shaishan's gaze was too outstanding. Just a single glance from him was enough to make you feel his arrogance. This sort of lofty arrogance was like he was a dragon soaring in the skies while you were merely crawling on the ground. The battle of the strongest naturally has to be left for the last. If the battle of the weaklings is left for later, what's there to appreciate? Huang Shatian spoke as though it was a matter of course. Such arrogance was like disregarding everything. His battle would be the battle of the strongest. If he fought, there was no need to watch the battles of the others. The only opponent that the powerful Huang Shatian was referring to was actually this person. Back then, this person was also sitting in the core region, beside him. In the burial gorge, only now did everyone understand. For those who could sit in the core region, how could it be luck? They were all people with extraordinary capabilities. Why don't you fight yourself? At this moment, a voice rang out from the void. No one knew where this voice originated from, but clearly, there was some sort of unique concealment technique. I've never seen someone as arrogant as you before. Devil might gushed forth from that devil cultivator, incomparably tyrannical. He stepped out, rushing towards Huang Shatian. With a roar of rage, the terrifying shadow of a gigantic devil ox appeared. With an explosive roar, he drove the devil ox war chariot forward, slaughtering everything in its path. Tens of thousands of devil ox chariots galloped forth, crushing everything before them. Several cold gazes stared in the direction of Qin Wentian. These were all people sent here by the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor. There were over 100 experts from the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's faction, as well as other powerful characters who came here with them. In any case, all of them were enemies, and these enemies all wanted to take Qin Wentian's life. Old Chai and Xia Yuan both arrived. They were known as the two strongest characters on the devil rankings, but right now, they were quietly standing there. This was especially so for Old Chai. He stood in a corner, appearing extremely inconspicuous. In such a place where so many devils gathered, no matter how strong an individual was, once they were surrounded, they would definitely end up in a miserable state. Huang Shatian slowly turned his gaze over. The azure dragon in the air didn't need to care about the thoughts of ants. He also couldn't be bothered with the anger of others. His gaze turned to Qin Wentian as he spoke. In the battle back then, although you and I were both heavily injured, if you didn't die, it would be my defeat. After that, there were people who urged me to kill you, but I didn't do so. Unless I have absolute strength to kill you, I wouldn't want you to act again. Now, I feel that the time has come. In a place where so many devils gathered, there was actually someone who dared to be so brazen. He crossed his arms before his chest and slowly walked forward, arriving at the center of the canyon. His gaze pierced through space, staring at a direction far away. Over there, Qin Wentian's figure could be seen. Seems like this should be the case. Nanfeng Ruoxuan nodded lightly. The three of them continued on their way. They stood on the yellow soil above the canyon and stared at the experts in the surroundings. Although devil cultivators were gathered here, the battle had yet to erupt. The spectators in the outside world were all moved. The Blackstone Devil King had a look of worry on his face, while the Old Xia Devil King had a smile on his face. No matter what, that devil cultivator was a powerful existence on the devil rankings. Yet in front of this man, he couldn't even withstand a single strike. How terrifying was Qin Wentian's full combat prowess. Huang Shatian spoke in arrogance, "If I act, you can only die." Evidently, because of the gathering of devil cultivators, everyone had trepidation and didn't dare to act recklessly. "Ants, you are courting death." Huang Shaishan's eyes were as arrogant as ever. After that, countless divine weapons were all aimed at that devil cultivator, exploding forth with killing intent. That devil cultivator's countenance drastically changed. He wanted to take out his devil weapon, but the speed of the divine weapons was simply too fast. He had already entered the domain of Huang Shaishan's law domain. In that case, only death awaited him. Huang Shatian. Qin Wentian stared at the person who just arrived. Although they were very far apart, he could still feel the pressure radiating from Huang Shatian. Huang Shatian was unexcelled in the world, as though he was the ruler of this world, a lonely king. Nanfeng Ruoxuan stared at the scene ahead as she frowned. Why are there so many devil cultivators? Old Chai or Xia Yuan? Huang Shatian stared at that devil cultivator. At this moment, that devil cultivator discovered that no matter what he did, he couldn't get near Huang Shatian. His attacks actually couldn't break through Huang Shaishan's spatial law domain. Huang Shaishan's hands that were crossed in front of his chest were placed back down, but he didn't lift them up. The light behind him grew even more resplendent as spatial energy gushed forth frenziedly, as though wanting to replace this true world of space. Scram the fuck out yourself. Huang Shatian spoke, his voice was cold, yet it was extremely tyrannical. What should I do? Cheetah asked. How powerful? The eyes of the crowd froze as they stared at Huang Shatian. Such strength was truly terrifying. The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness as they stared at Qin Wentian. Kill! That devil cultivator roared in rage. Similarly, a powerful law might gushed forth from him as he drove the devil ox war chariot towards Huang Shatian. However, at this instant, boundless spatial light enveloped him as the two law domains clashed against each other. Don't move. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. With so many devil cultivators gathered here, a single strand of hair could affect the entire body. Arrogant people had loftiness in their bones. They could stare straight at their own failures, not minding others knowing about it. This was true arrogance. They didn't need to care about what others thought, they only cared about their own goals. Huang Shatian glanced at him. Huang Shatian still stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His well-defined face exuded the arrogance of a king, like he was looking down at an ant. Just a single glance from him was sufficient to cause that devil cultivator to feel a sense of humiliation. Qin Wentian didn't doubt Huang Shatian's strength. Back then, when the Sacred Academy opened, all the outstanding geniuses of the immortal realms came to the Sacred Academy. However, Huang Shatian was someone who could stand at the peak. Only a few people could stand at the same level as him. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. After Huang Shatian stepped past that gate, he had already walked very far and grew increasingly stronger. In addition, it seemed that Huang Shatian had cultivated a brand new and terrifying innate technique. Sure. Qin Wentian nodded in agreement. Huang Shatian closed his eyes, ignoring everything in the outside world. So, you guys better not waste any more time. The battle is about to start. Waiting here would only be a waste of time. Huang Shatian spoke again. The eyes of everyone flashed, this fellow was truly arrogant enough. But the strength he displayed earlier made everyone speechless. The battle today wouldn't be easy. This was also the reason why Qin Wentian kept a low profile and did his best to conserve his strength. Because, he was very clear of what sort of character his opponent was. You will naturally know. I just hope that you won't disappoint me. Huang Shatian spoke. I won't go and kill your people. This is a battle between us, let the two of us settle it. What do you think? In the next instant, from the spatial light screen behind Huang Shatian, countless divine weapons erupted forth, akin to 10,000 arrows shooting out in unison, shattering everything. Those demonic bulls that rushed over were instantly pierced through. They were bound by the distorted space, they had no way to escape. Who do you think you are? That devil cultivator coldly spoke. Cold intent gushed forth from many devil cultivators. Daring to be so arrogant in front of so many devils, other than him, there was no one else who would dare to be so brazen. This meant that even in the entire immortal realms, Huang Shatian was a heaven's chosen who stood at the very peak. Although all the geniuses of the fallen devil region were gathered here, how could a single devil region be compared to the entire immortal realms? Let alone the fact that Huang Shatian's cultivation base had already reached the peak of immortal foundation and he had already taken that final step back when he was in the Sacred Academy. Naturally, other than the devil cultivators, there were also those on Qin Wentian's side. However, all of them quietly stood at their original locations, as though they didn't know each other at all. Chapter 1270. Tyrannical, arrogant, and domineering. This was the impression Huang Shatian gave to everyone. His tyranny was because a powerful devil cultivator on the devil rankings questioned him and was killed by him on the spot. His arrogance was because he had a domineering attitude of disdain towards the masses. In this place, he only had a single opponent, Qin Wentian. As for the other devil cultivators, they didn't even have the qualifications to be his opponent. He closed his eyes, ignoring the experts in this place. No matter how you guys fight, it has nothing to do with him. He only needed to fight the final battle. There was no need to doubt that the strongest king would only fight the final battle. This was the pride of a king. Many people then turned their gazes to Qin Wentian. This was the character that Huang Shatian treated as his only opponent. What sort of strength did he have? Xia Yuan's eyes gleamed with sharpness. He cast a deep glance at Huang Shatian. In his eyes, the geniuses of the fallen devil region weren't worth a mention at all. Was his opponent only Qin Wentian? What sort of character was Qin Wentian? Old Chai also stared at the two of them. He had exchanged blows with Qin Wentian before and naturally understood that Qin Wentian wasn't someone to be trifled with. But now, he discovered that Huang Shatian wasn't someone to be trifled with. If he wanted to enter the top 3, these two would undoubtedly be his greatest obstructions. Since he is so arrogant, let's join forces and kill him. That masked voice rang out again. Nobody knew who it was that spoke, but there was an inciting force to it. Many devil cultivators stared at Huang Shatian. If they could kill him, it would undoubtedly be a good choice. Many of them were tempted. Who wants to join me? At this moment, a powerful devil cultivator standing in a certain direction spoke. He had a gigantic blood-colored axe on his shoulder as he stared at Huang Shatian. I've never seen such an arrogant person before. Since he wants to die early, let's grant him his wish. A sinister voice rang out as another person joined in. With two people taking the lead, violent auras gushed forth. They stepped out, moving towards the direction of Huang Shatian. Not only that, along the way, there were more than 10 devil cultivators joining in. They wanted to make sure that Huang Shatian wouldn't have the last chance to kill him. A bunch of ants, are you all courting death? Huang Shaishan's eyes were still closed, yet he spoke in an unmasked voice filled with disdain. This voice infuriated them even more as the auras of these devil cultivators surged forth. Since you want to be the most dazzling, you have to be able to withstand the strongest attacks. A devil cultivator coldly spoke. Only to see Xia Yuan, who had been standing there, suddenly moving. His body moved with lightning speed, and after that, everyone discovered to their shock that the most outstanding character on the devil rankings, Xia Yuan, was actually standing not far away from Huang Shatian. It wasn't because he wanted to deal with Huang Shatian, but rather, it was as though he was protecting Huang Shatian. An expert like Xia Yuan was actually protecting Huang Shatian. Xia Yuan, you are abandoning yourself. A devil cultivator roared with killing intent. A bunch of ants, courting death. Huang Shatian opened his eyes. When the devil cultivators rushed towards him, he instantly unleashed his spatial law domain. In an instant, this entire space transformed into his law domain. Before absolute strength, what's the use of numbers? Huang Shatian roared. Behind him, boundless killing intent shot towards one of the devil cultivators, bringing with it a destructive might. That person screamed in agony as he directly died. Xia Yuan glanced over there as his heart trembled. Seems like Huang Shatian was already so powerful that he didn't even need to interfere. Even if he was surrounded, Huang Shatian could still ignore everything. Bzz. A devil cultivator took out a powerful devil weapon. The other devil cultivators all acted as well. However, Huang Shatian coldly laughed. Using divine weapons? These people from the fallen devil region, the experts participating in this battle, the divine weapons they used, could they compare to Huang Shatian, the most outstanding genius of the younger generation of the 9 emperors' immortal state? Courting death. Huang Shatian coldly spoke. After which, the light screen behind him shone with an even more resplendent light. A majestic emperor aura gushed forth, unexcelled in the world. Countless divine weapons shot out, resembling beams of light. Piercing sounds rang out unceasingly as the beams of light directly penetrated through the bodies of those devil cultivators. The devil cultivators all died one after another, falling from the air. The devil weapons in their hands didn't even have a chance to be activated. The crowd was speechless. How could they kill these devil cultivators? It was still fine if they didn't take out their devil weapons. Once they took out their devil weapons, under the might of their opponent's divine weapons, they would definitely be crushed. Divine weapons and innate techniques complement each other. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Huang Shaishan's divine weapons were exactly the same as the innate techniques he was using now. Seems like this was a divine weapon specially created by the Nine Emperor's immortal state for Huang Shatian. The might of that divine weapon was only released for an instant, but it was already so powerful that it caused people's hearts to tremble. Qin Wentian was thinking that if he wanted to face Huang Shaishan's divine weapon head-on, only that treasure would be able to do so. This Huang Shatian truly had no fear at all. In such a situation, if he took out such a powerful treasure, it would easily attract the greed of others. Most probably, many devil kings outside would feel their hearts pounding with excitement. At the same time when Qin Wentian was spectating the battle, he discovered that those who weren't devil cultivators were also rushing towards him. These devil cultivators all had cold expressions on their faces, filled with killing intent. Seems like it's not a good thing to be too conspicuous. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. Evidently, a single sentence from Huang Shatian had attracted a storm for him. There was a limit to the number of slots that the Devil Emperor would appoint. In that case, they could only join forces to kill those who might occupy the slots. Before this, when those devil cultivators killed Huang Shatian, they did so. Now, they were preparing to kill Qin Wentian as well. Qin Wentian frowned. He kept a low profile and avoided battles because he didn't want to exhaust too much energy in large-scale battles. His cultivation base wasn't like Huang Shatian, who was already at the peak of Immortal Foundation. It was naturally easier for him to kill those at the same level as him. However, even if there were people who wanted to provoke him, he could only kill them until they felt fear. Leave it to us. Nanfeng Ruoxuan spoke. Qida nodded and walked out. At the same time, in other directions, other experts also walked out. For example, Jidi's followers, Mo Zian, as well as the person who sat beside Qin Wentian earlier. This person was named Duan Qianshan. He was a disciple sent by the Heavenly Talisman Realm to accompany Qin Wentian to the Myriad Devil Islands. Before this person had never appeared in the Tiandao Sacred Academy before, but Qin Wentian didn't doubt his cultivation base at all. This time around, the 100 people who entered the Myriad Devil Islands were all at the peak level of Immortal Foundation and were selected by the major powers. Each power sent out many people and all of them had already taken that step. Before this, Qin Wentian didn't know who Duan Qianshan was. But the Heavenly Talisman Realm was extremely mysterious and had many disciples. It wasn't strange for there to be people who were in closed-door seclusion trying to break through to the Immortal King realm. Michem. The eyes of everyone flashed. These experts who walked out actually surrounded those who went to deal with Qin Wentian. Although their numbers were few, their auras were extremely imposing. Kill. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. Sword hums rang out as he gripped the demon's sword in his hand. A sharp sword intent gushed forth, ravaging everything in its path. He stood at his original location unmoving, but the demon's sword could be unleashed at any moment. Kill. Devil might gushed forth from those devil cultivators. With a lift of their hands, they unleashed tyrannical devil attacks. Qida stood before Qin Wentian and with a thunderous roar, his body expanded in size. The divine battle ape appeared, blocking in front of Qida, withstanding the boundless might of the attacks. At the same time, Nanfeng Ruoxuan waved her finger. Instantly, a terrifying phoenix silhouette enveloped this entire space as phoenix flames descended, wanting to incinerate everything. Mo Zian blasted out with the immortal slaying diagram, shooting towards the crowd. Duan Qianshan's body abruptly transformed into many shadows that directly rushed into the crowd of devil cultivators. After which, he slashed out with his sword, and in an instant, a myriad of sword lights slashed out. Those devil cultivators snorted coldly and unleashed their tyrannical attacks. However, their attacks were all blasted away. In just an instant, the gazes of countless experts froze. Danger. The other devil cultivators all stared at the afterimages. Duan Qianshan's shadows actually had the ability to attack. In fact, their attacks were extremely powerful. The attribute of a clone. Seems like this man has condensed a miraculous astral soul and cultivated an avatar technique, causing his shadows to be filled with offensive power. It's impossible to defend against him. Everyone stared at Duan Qianshan. The law energy radiating from him was extremely terrifying. Numerous shadows surrounded a devil cultivator, instantly turning the situation around. I will delay them. You guys kill them. Duan Qianshan spoke. Nanfeng Ruoxuan, Qida, and the others instantly understood Duan Qianshan's intentions. Qin Wentian could sense the strength of these people. The light from the demon's sword in his hand gradually dimmed. The experts sent out by the various major powers were all here to aid in the adjudication battle. They were all elites, and even if they were surrounded by devil cultivators, he didn't need to do anything. He only needed to focus on his battle against Huang Shatian. Let the battle begin. A cold voice rang out. There were experts who launched attacks at those around them. There was no meaning in continuing to wait. It's the people from Huang Shaishan's faction. Qin Wentian glanced at the person who started the battle. Seems like the people from Huang Shaishan's faction wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. Since there were devil cultivators fighting, a slight change in one part would affect the rest. More and more battles erupted in different locations. Even Xia Yuan had made his move. It was time to sweep away the weak. Old Chai wielded a hatchet and stepped into the battlefield. He instantly rushed towards an enemy and slashed out with his hatchet, killing his opponent with a single slash. After that, he immediately changed the battlefield. Very swiftly, a chaotic battle broke out. This was destined to be a battlefield where the strong harvested the weak. The death rate was extremely high. As the battle erupted, the illusory light screen behind Huang Shatian actually retracted. He stood there with his hands behind his back, quietly watching the battle as though it had nothing to do with him. He knew that the battle that belonged to him was about to arrive. Qin Wentian's gaze pierced through the crowd, landing on Huang Shatian. Their gazes intersected as their battle intent soared. However, both of them had a tacit understanding and didn't make a move. They were waiting for an opportunity to fight. Old Xia, the person you regard highly, seems to treat that young man as his only opponent. The Devil Emperor spoke to the old Xia Devil King. The victor will definitely be Huang Shatian. The old Xia Devil King quietly spoke. Ha, you are still so confident in him. In that case, I will watch carefully. The Devil Emperor laughed. The people in the surroundings all had gleams of sharpness on their faces. They felt a sense of absurdity in their hearts. It was like the battle between the devils on the battlefield was only to serve as a foil for the final battle between the two of them. Chapter 1271. The Blackstone Devil King, who was at the back, furrowed his brows even more tightly. The battle hasn't even started and the old Xia Devil King was already supporting Huang Shatian. To Qin Wentian, this wasn't a good thing. The old Xia Devil King was someone who could influence the decision of the Devil Emperor. Seems like old Chai really wanted to gain the favor of the Devil Emperor and was willing to stake everything on this. Most probably, he had been stuck at this realm for far too long and could feel the danger of death closing in on him. He needed the favor of the Devil Emperor. Even if it was just a reputation, it would be able to protect his life. If he could break through this realm, it would undoubtedly be the most important thing to old Chai. Yes. The old Xia Devil King nodded. The Devil Emperor smiled but didn't say anything. Huang Shatian and Qin Wentian had a grudge, but no one could tell at this moment. There was no way for them to be compatible. This old friend of his valued Huang Shatian more, he would naturally reject Qin Wentian. The two of them got closer step by step. The auras from Huang Shatian and Qin Wentian gushed towards each other as law energy circulated around them. I feel that Qin Wentian might have a chance. The Devil Emperor laughed as he continued staring at the battlefield. The old Xia Devil King also knew that the Devil Emperor understood his thoughts. However, he didn't mind. Given the relationship between them, there was no need for him to care about such things. Vicious and merciless. Other than his talent being a little lacking, he can be considered perfect in all other aspects. This is an extremely perfect devil cultivator. If he breaks through to the Devil King realm, he would be even more dangerous. You can recruit him for your own use. The old Xia Devil King spoke. At almost the same instant, Huang Shatian, who was sitting there, abruptly opened his eyes. His gaze was incomparably sharp, piercing through space as he stared at Qin Wentian. Do you want to fight? His body was his law domain. Can't you give me a chance to fight him? Old Chai asked. Defeat me first. Duan Qianshan calmly spoke. The Devil Emperor naturally knew what old Chai was thinking. Both of them were old monsters of the cultivation world, how could they not understand? The number of people on the battlefield was decreasing rapidly. In the burial gorge, the battle that erupted caused the wind and clouds to howl. Demonic might enveloped the entire space. Flesh and blood flew everywhere as experts fell. Is this the killing light screen? Qin Wentian could already feel the pressure coming from it. Huang Shatian stood proudly and said, Fight! Everyone, scram! Huang Shatian roared. Instantly, countless beams of light shot out in all directions, opening up a path. In an instant, the devil cultivators had no choice but to retreat and give up the battlefield. This scene caused the spectators outside to tremble in fear. Not to mention the two of them fighting directly, even the battlefield where Huang Shatian and Qin Wentian were fighting, no one was allowed to approach. How tyrannical was this? Let's fight, Qin Wentian said lightly. Be careful, old Chai is in danger. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to Duan Qianshan. This word, kill, seemed to have drawn the curtains to the battle. In just an instant, tens of thousands of divine weapons instantly appeared before Qin Wentian. This strike was earth-shattering, causing everyone in the surroundings to break out in cold sweat. Sure. Old Chai laughed. His hatchet cleaved down as black lightning appeared. Old Xia Devil King laughed. This MOG was truly good at reading people's expressions and knew what to say. Many experts rushed over in the direction of Qin Wentian. These were people from the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's side. Seems like they all wanted to end this chaotic battle. Even if an immortal king who just entered the immortal king realm not long ago stood before him, Huang Shatian would still kill that immortal king if he could use a supreme treasure. Boom! A supreme demonic might gushed forth. Qin Wentian's body transformed into a body of laws as a terrifying demon god manifested around him. He was none other than a supreme demon king. Hence, this was why he was so confident. The screen of light behind Huang Shatian flashed. Resplendent light gushed forth once more as nine-colored emperor light interweaved together, exuding supreme might. Just like that day, release the power of your bloodline. If not, you won't stand a chance at all. Huang Shatian calmly spoke. Back then, the reason why Qin Wentian could fight against him who was at the peak of Immortal Foundation to such an extent was because of that bloodline secret art, forcibly raising his cultivation base to a terrifying level. The tens of thousands of divine weapons blasted over, yet it was as though they slammed into the strongest defense. The thunderous boom caused the eardrums of everyone to tremble, yet they had no way to break through Qin Wentian's body. However, they were clearly too intelligent, avoiding to such an extent. This could only mean that they might as well not enter the battlefield because it was meaningless. For those who didn't even participate in the final battle, it was impossible for them to enter the eyes of the Devil Emperor. I know you have cultivated an ultimate art. But this time around, I have also cultivated an ultimate art. You will lose for sure. Huang Shaishan's sharp eyes stared at Qin Wentian, filled with absolute confidence. This old Chai is too ruthless. The spectators silently mused. The number of people who died because of old Chai was definitely the highest. This fellow was too dangerous, he could kill a devil cultivator just by acting ruthlessly when others were fighting. As the sound of his voice faded, the light screen of laws enveloped this entire space. Qin Wendian also felt himself being trapped within Huang Shaishan's law domain. In an instant, Qin Wendian felt as though he had sunk into a quagmire. The distorted space around him made it so that he couldn't move accurately. Some of the smarter ones chose to avoid the battle, hiding in a certain location. Hence, they didn't head to the burial canyon to participate in this battle. If he, Old Chai, wanted to seize the attention of the Devil Emperor, he had to fight against Qin Wendian first. If he defeated him, all the glory of Qin Wendian would belong to him, Old Chai. More and more powerful devil cultivators died in the burial canyon. There were also some who sighed that they didn't have a chance and directly left the battlefield. They returned to the banquet hall and quietly stared at the battlefield with many emotions in their hearts. Boom! A violent current gushed forth ferociously from Qin Wendian. That terrifying demonic chi swept over, causing some devil cultivators to feel their hearts trembling. They turned their heads and glanced in the direction of Qin Wendian as their countenances drastically changed. Could it be that this fellow's true form was a terrifying greater demon? How could his demonic chi be so terrifying? Numerous sharp divine weapons were aimed at him. Qin Wendian frowned. The current Huang Shatian was truly much stronger compared to the past. In this battlefield, how many devil cultivators would be able to contend against him? Old Chai was still unwilling to give up. He lifted his devil saber and walked towards Qin Wendian as an aged smile appeared on his face. Qin Wendian closed his eyes as the blood in his body churned. Abruptly, beams of blood-colored light gushed forth from every part of his body. At this moment, Qin Wendian's aura towered up into the sky as a terrifying demonic light radiated from him. His eyes turned extremely demonic, gleaming with a blood-colored light. His long robes and black hair fluttered in the wind as a terrifying demonic phantom manifested behind him. At this moment, Qin Wendian was like a descendant of a demonic god. Boom! Only to see Qin Wendian stepping out as terrifying demonic chi transformed into corporeal light that swept out. The experts in the surroundings all parted for him, as though he wanted to forcefully open up a new battlefield. Qin Wendian's aura erupted forth as his fiend-godlike body radiated boundless light. Him at this moment was unexcelled in the world. Seems like your evaluation of him is very high and he is also very intelligent, choosing to avoid the battle. But why did you have so many complaints about that young man named Qin Wendian earlier? The Devil Emperor asked again. He is different from Old Chai. Old Chai is too old, it's already very rare for him to be able to show such courage. But he is so young, he should have the tyrannical air of a young devil cultivator. His style is different. In that case, if you were to choose the three of them, would you choose Old Chai and not Qin Wendian? The Devil Emperor asked. In the battlefield of the fallen devil region, how could there be anyone who could stand against him? Hence, he dared to say that in this battlefield, he would only have a single opponent. The others didn't even have the qualifications to be his opponent. Ruthless and ruthless. Would Old Chai be able to gain the favor of the Devil Emperor this time around? Someone mused. This wasn't the first time Old Chai participated in the birthday banquet of the Devil Emperor. He was simply too old and had already reached this realm many years ago. However, Huang Shaishan's expression was calm and indifferent. He knew that this was just the start of the battle. If Qin Wendian was so easily killed by him, he wouldn't be qualified to be his only opponent. Although Qin Wendian has already stepped into the 7th level of Immortal Foundation, if he didn't borrow the power of that bloodline's secret art, it was still far from enough. MOG, who do you think will be the victor of this battle? The Devil Emperor asked MOG, who was in his embrace. Huang Shatian quietly stood there as he spoke, kill. Ever since he exited the Sacred Academy, although Huang Yudi died and he didn't manage to kill Qin Wendian, the 9 Emperors' immortal empire didn't blame him. In fact, they even bestowed upon him a supreme inheritance treasure of their empire. This supreme treasure was something from ancient times and was the treasure used to establish the 9 Emperors' immortal empire back then. It contained a supreme emperor canon and was able to fuse the power of the 9 great emperors' immortal canon together, allowing the innate techniques and treasures to fuse as one, perfectly complementing him. After a terrifying transformation, he finally obtained this inheritance treasure. However, Duan Qianshan suddenly appeared before old Chai. He wielded a sword of azure light as he quietly stood there. Devil cultivators should be like this. He's even more ruthless than before, killing people like this would easily offend some major powers. But this time around, old Chai seems to be throwing caution to the wind, wanting to attract the attention of the Devil Emperor. A Devil King expert spoke in a low voice. Duan Qianshan's silhouette flickered as he instantly transformed into many afterimages, moving in different directions, surrounding old Chai. Everyone could see Huang Shaishan's strength, but he only treated Qin Wentian as his opponent. Even though Qin Wentian didn't have a glorious battle record, as long as he was dazzling enough in his battle against Huang Shatian, he would be able to snatch away the glory of others. Even if he lost, he would still attract the most attention. What do you think of old Chai? The Devil Emperor asked old Xia. I have no idea. But from the looks of it, the young man that Senior Xia regards highly should have a higher chance of winning. Mog smiled, her body was boneless, extremely charming. If it wasn't for the fallen Devil Emperor, ordinary Devil Kings wouldn't even be able to withstand her Mercury Lady Devil art. Qin Wentian glanced at old Chai. Seems like old Chai wasn't willing to let him and Huang Shatian steal all the limelight and wanted to give it a try. Chapter 1272. His defense is so powerful. The spectators felt their hearts trembling. The divine weapons in Huang Shaishan's light screen could easily kill powerful devil cultivators, yet when they landed on Qin Wentian, they couldn't even break through his defense. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying the law energy around Qin Wentian was. Interesting indeed. The fallen Devil Emperor spoke in a low voice. Since Huang Shatian could treat Qin Wentian as his greatest enemy and there were so many outstanding characters protecting him, how could this young man who chose to avoid battles before be so simple? After the power of his bloodline erupted forth, he already had the strength to contend against Huang Shatian. Only such a battle would be interesting. The two of them opened up a battlefield, nobody dared to approach. That battle seemed to have become the only thing in this entire battlefield. The spectators outside the battlefield were all extremely nervous. This bastard, he lied to me. The devilish female stared at Qin Wentian. So it turned out that this fellow was so powerful, able to become the center of attention even during the birthday banquet. If she knew this earlier, she would have pushed him down earlier. Huang Shatian didn't feel surprised by the strength of Qin Wentian's defense. His eyes gleamed with a divine light, yet he was exceptionally calm, as though this was how things should be. I truly want to see how strong your defense is exactly. Huang Shatian coldly spoke. With a wave of his hand, the light screen behind him erupted with an even more intense divine light. Countless divine weapons appeared from within, the light screen was like a bottomless pit. It was like his Emperor Immortal Light had undergone a sublimation. The attacks of the human Emperor Immortal Light were filled with boundless killing intent. Right now, each and every beam of light seemed to have transformed into an invincible divine weapon that underwent a perfect transformation. Even if you are a god, you will be buried here today. Huang Shatian coldly spoke. At this moment, the heavens and earth changed color, only light remained. Each and every divine weapon was like a beam of light, exuding a majestic emperor's might. Qin Wentian raised his defense to the extreme. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out as his body was forced back unceasingly. Boundless attacks rained down on him. Water droplets could penetrate stone, and when the number of attacks was large enough, it could form a terrifying storm, let alone the attacks of these divine weapons. This was like an endless barrage of attacks. As long as Qin Wentian didn't die, the attacks wouldn't be extinguished. Huang Shatian claimed that he had obtained some sort of inheritance from the Nine Emperor's immortal state. This inheritance was clearly so powerful that it could be comparable to a true ultimate art. Qin Wentian was forced back unceasingly. The terrifying tremors caused him to groan in pain. Even the demon god protection started to show signs of cracks. Huang Shaishan's attacks were truly tyrannical enough. From his body, a supreme light suddenly erupted forth. The terrifying shadow of the divine turtle expanded outwards, temporarily blocking the violent attacks. At the same time, Qin Wentian stretched out his palms as boundless energy gushed forth from his palms. A gigantic palm imprint containing world-destroying might blasted out. Only to see that gigantic palm imprint opening up a path, forcefully cleaving apart the countless divine weapons as it shot towards Huang Shatian, akin to a divine imprint of destruction. An ultimate art? Huang Shaishan's countenance turned sharp. Given Qin Wentian's current cultivation base, in addition to the fact that he comprehended immortal king might as well as unleashing an ultimate art, Qin Wentian's strength has already reached a terrifying level. Qin Wentian could directly threaten him. World of nothingness. Huang Shatian seemed to have comprehended the laws of nothingness. Layers of spatial light flashed as the destructive god's hands slammed into Huang Shatian. Ultimately, it actually passed through Huang Shaishan's body and entered the void behind him, vanishing from sight. What a terrifying fellow! The spectators all felt their hearts trembling. Huang Shaishan's attacks were boundless, killing gods and devils alike. Yet, his opponent's attack was actually able to drive it into nothingness. Such an opponent was simply too terrifying. Many devil cultivators thought that Qin Wentian, who was facing Huang Shatian, was them. If they stood in Huang Shaishan's position, only death would await them. Where's your strongest unique skill? Huang Shatian spoke to Qin Wentian. He naturally wouldn't forget the attack that heavily injured him back then. That attack was infused with Qin Wentian's strongest attack. It hasn't reached that stage yet. Qin Wentian spoke. His body abruptly expanded in size, resembling a demonic god. A fearsome ancient halberd appeared in his hands and with a stomp of his foot, a thunderous boom rang out, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. Qin Wentian was preparing to clash head-on with Qin Wentian's attacks. Because he was a huge target, it was very difficult to evade Qin Wentian's attacks. He could only clash head-on. The ancient halberd in Qin Wentian's hands seemed to contain a terrifying demon. Numerous dark-colored great rocks revolved around the ancient halberd, as well as the shadows of demonic dragons. That halberd was terrifying to the extreme. Qin Wentian's palms were similarly terrifying. The energy of God's hand flowed within them. Boom! Yi Futian took a step forward and then raised his hand to attack. As the halberd descended, the most perfect attack appeared. The halberd moved forward with an indomitable will. It was like an attack that could shock the world. An earth-shattering roar of a great demon erupted from within, shattering the souls of those who heard it. Behind Huang Shatian, shadows of Renhuangs appeared. 9 supreme Renhuangs stood proudly in the illusory light screen. It was as though they had merged into it and become a part of it. At this moment, the 9 Renhuangs attacked at the same time. They brought with them different powers, but they attacked the same point. The terrifying power of destruction struck the ancient halberd. The void seemed to be on the verge of exploding as a terrifying storm swept out. At the same time that the two attacks collided, Huang Shatian stepped forward. Countless divine weapons spewed out from the illusory light screen, shattering the ancient halberd. Huang Shatian walked towards Qin Wentian's body. Just like in the battle at the Sacred Academy, he approached Qin Wentian. After Qin Wentian's bloodline erupted, his body of rules was also extremely terrifying. His defense was astonishing. If one wanted to destroy him, they would need to compete with him in the power of rules, get close to him, and crush him. At this moment, the crowd was shocked to discover that the golden light screen of the void that had gathered the rules of space filled the entire void. The 9 Renhuangs descended in different directions. Behind each Renhuang, a terrifying light screen of destruction appeared, all aimed at Qin Wentian's huge body. It was as though they wanted to completely strangle Qin Wentian in this space. Huang Shatian was right in front of them. In the past, I was destroyed here. Today, I want to try again. Huang Shatian spoke arrogantly. Once, because he got close to Qin Wentian, he suffered a destructive blow when he was about to attack Qin Wentian, causing him to be unable to kill Qin Wentian. This time, he did the same, just like in the past. Qin Wentian's huge body, terrifying power, suppression, destruction, and other rules flowed about, supporting the pressure from the surrounding space. If he hadn't taken that step into the immortal king realm, he wouldn't have been able to fight against Huang Shatian today. Kill. Huang Shatian spoke again. The 9 Renhuangs unleashed destructive attacks from different directions. Qin Wentian seemed to have transformed into a devil foundation. His perfect immortal foundation shone with a dazzling light as layers of screens of light appeared around him. The ancient characters on the screens expanded outwards in all directions, defending against the frenzied killing intent. Countless ancient characters cascaded downwards from the sky. Qin Wentian, who was akin to a demonic god, lifted his palm once more and blasted it out towards Huang Shatian. A single strike from him was sufficient to shatter the heavens and earth. Huang Shatian lifted a golden spear that exuded a supreme sharpness as it pierced through the air. With a thunderous boom, the spear directly pierced through the terrifying palm imprint, causing spatial cracks to appear. The spear and the palm imprint both exploded into pieces. How violent! The hearts of the crowd trembled. Such a confrontation, just a single strike already gave people a feeling of supreme strength. This was what a true battle was. The other devil battles, when set off by this battle, seemed somewhat dim. Qin Wentian, who was like a demonic god, blasted out with both his palms, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Palm imprints blasted out one after another as countless ancient characters descended from the sky, as though he wouldn't rest until he killed Huang Shatian. However, Huang Shatian's surroundings were like a forbidden ground. Any attacks that landed on him would only be destroyed. With a casual lift of his hand, an incomparably sharp sword could be seen, piercing through the palm imprints in the air. With a wave of his hand, an indomitable spear could be seen, piercing through Qin Wentian's attacks. How powerful! The spectators felt their hearts trembling. When the combat prowess of the two of them erupted forth, Old Chai and Xia Yuan both felt somewhat dim. Such a level of combat prowess should already be infinitely close to the immortal king realm, right? Where did these two fellows pop out from? The fallen devil emperor spoke in a low voice. Huang Shatian's body of laws is even more terrifying, and his comprehension is deeper. As for Qin Wentian, both his attacks and defense have reached the pinnacle. Their devil foundations seem to be perfect as well. My fallen devil region has never produced such characters before, right? Do you have the thought of accepting them as disciples? The old Xia devil king laughed. Not really. How troublesome is it to teach disciples? How can it be as carefree as being alone for a day? In addition, no matter how outstanding their talent is, it would take too many years for them to reach my level. How troublesome. The fallen devil emperor smiled and shook his head. The people of the myriad devil islands didn't value inheritances as much as the immortal realms. In this fallen devil region, he was the strongest, hence, he had no thoughts of establishing a devil empire. It was more practical for him to pursue his own strength. The stronger he was, the higher his status would be. Hence, even though he admired the talent of these two, he didn't think of accepting them as disciples. Naturally, this also had something to do with the personality of the fallen devil emperor. In addition, did these two really not belong to any sect? From that battlefield, he could see some things. Even the devil emperor was shocked, let alone the others. Yan Yusin and Azure Flame Tua were already extremely ashamed. Before this, they actually mocked and humiliated Qin Wentian. In front of Qin Wentian, what did they count for? As long as Qin Wentian was willing, he could choose any power on the fallen devil island. Sir Qin is actually so powerful. Xin Yu's heart pounded. She clearly didn't expect that Qin Wentian, who she met in the Celestial Devil Lodge back then, would actually be so graceful. Chapter 1273. In the battlefield, at the Burial Gorge, the chaotic battle continued. Numerous violent battles erupted unceasingly, and as time flowed by, more and more experts were eliminated or killed. The battle between Old Chai and Duan Qianshan was extremely intense. The group of people who were protecting Qin Wentian clashed against another group of people, and the situation was just as intense. Naturally, there was only one battle that everyone was paying the most attention to. The battle between Qin Wentian and Huang Shatian. It was as though they had opened up an independent battlefield. There was no one else, and neither of them used any divine weapons. It was as though they were protecting their own pride. For this battle, it was a competition of their own strength. Terrifying law energy flowed around both of them, and neither of them was able to kill the other. However, Huang Shatian seemed to be more skillful and at ease. The 9 human emperors stood there proudly, and under such endless attacks, Qin Wentian's defense would eventually be broken through. If you still don't use your strongest attack, you won't have the chance anymore. Right now, Huang Shatian wasn't far away from Qin Wentian. He shattered another palm imprint as he coldly spoke. I really want to experience it. Qin Wentian coldly replied. He was still like a descendant of the demon god, and his body abruptly shone with a towering devilish light. His entire body was clad in a layer of devilish armor as devilish might churned around him. It was as though he had completely devilized. His terrifying eyes were like that of a demon, becoming bloodthirsty and violent, as though he was about to lose his rationality and enter a berserk state. As expected of a humanoid monster. Huang Shaishan's gaze turned cold. It was one thing for the demonic qi to be violent, but now, he was completely devilized as his aura continued to climb. Immortal devil transformation, devilization. He actually used it. The countenance of the Blackstone Devil King changed. He knew how terrifying devilization was. This was a battle where he had to stake everything on a single throw. The demonized Qin Wentian let out a deafening roar and punched out with both of his fists at the same time. One after another, terrifying demonized demonic beasts struck out violently. The world seemed to be on the verge of splitting apart. Both of Huang Shaishan's hands folded into ancient imprints. Behind him, countless divine weapons congregated, their energy gushing into his body. At this instant, Huang Shatian transformed into the strongest humanoid battle weapon in existence. He slashed out with his hands, manifesting an emperor's sword that could split the heavens and earth apart, slaying the greater demons. With a single point of his finger, it was like a human emperor wielding a brush, capable of penetrating through everything. In order to deal with a humanoid monster like you, how could I not have made some preparations? I've said it before. This time, if I don't have absolute confidence, I won't waste any more time fighting you. Huang Shaishan's body surged with supreme majesty. The shadow of a peerless Renhuang appeared on his body and gradually merged with him. At this moment, he was an ancient human emperor. He grasped the methods of the human emperor, possessing world-splitting divine abilities and techniques. They can actually grow even stronger. The devil cultivators in the outside world felt their hearts trembling, feeling as though they had received a huge blow. Before this, Qin Wentian and Huang Shatian were already terrifying enough. However, that wasn't their limit. Right now, the two of them seemed to be even stronger than before. Qin Wentian went berserk, while Huang Shatian was like an ancient human emperor. Who were they exactly? Why did they have such powerful innate techniques and techniques? It was as though their methods were inexhaustible. Such characters, most probably, only emperor-ranked powers would be able to nurture them. They might be from the immortal realms. Some of the more intelligent devil cultivators guessed. There were quite a number of people who cultivated immortal energy in this battlefield. Although the myriad devil islands also had immortal-level cultivation arts and immortal cultivators, the Fallen Devil Island was the core of the Fallen Devil region. It was normal for there to be an extremely small number of immortal-level experts in the battlefield. However, Qin Wentian and Huang Shatian, as well as the protector of Qin Wentian, were all so powerful. If they came from the immortal realms, they definitely wouldn't be from an ordinary power in the immortal realms. They would surely have extraordinary backgrounds. In the battlefield, the battle between Qin Wentian and Huang Shatian shocked everyone. Even for the other devil cultivators who were fighting, there were some who stopped to spectate, feeling their hearts trembling. It was too terrifying. Qin Wendian demonized, transforming into a humanoid war beast while Huang Shatian transformed into a humanoid war soldier. Every time the two of them clashed, the impact would be earth-shattering. The demonized Qin Wendian stepped out, punching out with a simple punch. It was like a world-ending art, capable of destroying everything. The shadow of the dragon of darkness flashed, engulfing the heavens and earth. Huang Shatian lifted his hand and countered with a finger. It was like the finger of a human emperor, capable of shattering the heavens and earth. Boom! Qin Wendian stomped on the ground, blasting out with both his palms. Huang Shaishan's palms joined together to form a human emperor imprint. With a wave of his hands, the space in the surroundings seemed to be torn apart. The light screen shattered, and all the chaotic currents of qi were shattered into nothingness. "Where's your strongest attack?" Huang Shatian roared. He moved within the spatial light, transforming into an ancient emperor that roamed the world. Everything in his surroundings was destroyed. Compared to the battle in the Sacred Academy back then, Huang Shatian was far stronger by a level. Back then, he also walked towards Qin Wendian step by step, unleashing an ultimate attack. But now, he was even more confident, even more arrogant. Boom! Qin Wendian's immortal foundation was now in a state of devilization. Darkness devil might blotted out the sky, enveloping the entire space, causing the entire space to turn dark. Huang Shatian stared at the gigantic body of Qin Wendian as he coldly spoke, "Can you still control yourself?" After speaking, he lifted his hands. A beam of light broke through the darkness, cascading down from the sky. Before the human emperor Huang Shatian, an ancient human emperor sword that could annihilate everything appeared, as though it was summoned from the void. This sword seemed to be illusory. When the tyrannical attacks landed on it, they were directly shattered or sunk into nothingness, unable to touch the sword at all. Huang Shaishan's eyes were incomparably solemn. Boundless energy gathered within the sword. He stared at Qin Wendian, his gaze was like an extremely sharp sword as he spoke, "If you still don't unleash your strongest attack, you won't have another chance to do so." As the sound of his voice faded, the sword erupted with boundless killing light, so blinding that many people had to close their eyes. There were even some devil cultivators who bled from their eyes. Just that sword intent alone was enough to kill powerful devil cultivators. How terrifying was this sword? Huang Shaishan's supreme strength, the might of an immortal king from his body of laws, all merged into the ancient human emperor sword. This wasn't a divine weapon but was formed from his own energy. However, it was even sharper and more terrifying compared to divine weapons. How powerful! The devil cultivators in the surroundings all hurriedly retreated. They could feel that even if the aftershocks of this attack landed on them, they might be killed. Also, if they were struck by this attack, they would die for sure. In the outside world, many devil cultivators even stood up from their seats, feeling incomparably shocked as they stared at the scene before them. The battle between these two grew more and more intense, shocking the heavens and earth and causing ghosts and gods to weep. It was too terrifying. With this sword, the battle will end. The old Xia Devil King drained the wine in his cup as he calmly spoke. If this sword descends, would that young man still be able to survive? There were some who silently mourned for Qin Wendian. Although they didn't personally feel the might of that sword strike, these devil kings could feel how powerful it was just by looking at it with their own eyes. The battle hasn't ended yet, who knows if Qin Wendian doesn't have any trump cards. The Blackstone Devil King had a dark expression on his face. Although he spoke this way, he was actually feeling a little nervous in his heart. Not only for him, the third princess Yen Yurua's beautiful eyes stared fixedly at this scene. Her heartbeat quickened as her countenance turned pale. A hint of fear actually appeared in her heart, as though the person facing that sword was her and not Qin Wendian. Even Xian Yu felt the same way. She was incomparably nervous as she stared at that devilized figure while silently praying in her heart, "Sir Qin." She had never thought that someone she had only met once would be able to leave such a deep impression on her. On the battlefield, Qin Wendian faced that sword directly. His devilized immortal foundation radiated a terrifying black light, resembling the starry skies of the night sky, cascading down on the heavens and earth. His cold eyes stared at Huang Shaishan's sword. What is that? At this moment, the spectators outside the battlefield could faintly see a black shadow leaving Qin Wentian's body, flying towards the back, completely vanishing into the darkness. The Devil Emperor's eyes narrowed as he stared at this scene. After that, Huang Shaishan's sword slashed down. The ancient human emperor's sword could split the heavens and earth apart. As this sword descended, from the top to the bottom, from the heavens to the earth, from the front to the back, everything was lacerated. In that area of space, a beam of light appeared, stopping there. Qin Wentian's body was split into two by that sword. Huang Shatian stood there with his sword in hand, staring at the figure that was split into two. His eyes were calm as he sighed lightly in his heart. Although Qin Wentian was someone he had to kill, after killing him, Huang Shatian couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It was extremely rare to encounter an opponent like Qin Wentian. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian's battle in the Sacred Academy back then, he wouldn't have grown so strong so quickly. A powerful opponent would only spur you forward. You need a strong will to surpass your opponent or you would be surpassed. After this battle, where else could he find a powerful opponent? That figure dissipated and at this moment, Huang Shatian frowned. Abruptly, a powerful sharpness erupted from his eyes as he inclined his head and stared at the darkness in the air. Within that boundless darkness, a tyrannical demonic might suddenly appeared, descending from the sky as a terrifying strike descended. It was that strike again, an attack capable of devouring everything, blasting towards Qin Wentian. That incomparably gigantic vortex of darkness engulfed the heavens and earth. Even with the power of space, it was impossible for Qin Wentian to evade this attack. As expected, I've underestimated you. A voice rang out in Huang Shaishan's heart. This strike was extremely similar to the battle in the Sacred Academy. It was like a cycle of reincarnation, repeating itself in this battlefield. And this time around, Qin Wentian actually managed to evade his attack. This was simply fatal. Qin Wentian, as expected, wasn't the Qin Wentian of the past. However, he, Huang Shatian, wasn't the Huang Shatian of the past as well. With this attack, there was no way he would be able to injure him. Even if he didn't succeed in a single strike, there was no need for him to think about it. He didn't think about how Qin Wentian managed to deceive him earlier. There was no need for him to do so. Failure is failure. Everything can wait until the end of the battle before thinking about it.